What is up, my favorite people? Welcome back to Memes and Markets. Keith, how are you, man?
It's the best day of my life, Ben. How you doing?
Today's the best day of my life, too, man. I like your sweater.
Thanks, man.
That's fresh.
Yeah, I like it.
I like it. I like it. I like it. So welcome, everyone. We'll say what up to everyone in the chat. This is an extra stream for the week. How's it going? How do I public chat? There we go. We got what a sale. What's going on? Appreciate you having you here with us. So no guests today. We're going to be reacting to Professor Jiang's content, explaining who he is, where he came from. He's blowing up on the internet because he predicted the Iran conflict before it happened. And so we're going to be going through his stuff because he's being plastered all over the internet. So we figured we've been talking about him for a while. Why not have an episode about him? And then hopefully it leads to an outright collaboration in the future.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. We'll have him on in the near future, just setting it up and talking about some of his incredible work that he's done. So if you haven't heard of Professor Jiang and the predictive history phenomenon, you're about to, and I would imagine that you already have. There's this guy on the internet. He is a teacher, and I think it's only been like 2 years now, he's been putting out stuff on YouTube. And he has a pretty interesting story as well. A lot of people are questioning whether or not this guy is like some intelligence asset.
Which is totally fair to get there.
Yeah. So he's blowing up. And so mostly because of a video that he put out literally 2 years ago that outlines the potential for Iran to go to war with the United States. And now that is literally happening. So the whole name of his channel is Predictive History. And he's literally nailed it with this one for sure. And there's plenty of other things that he's talked about. So we also want to think about what are some of the things that he's talked about that haven't happened yet, and could those things actually come true as well? So I wanted to start off with like the video that's blowing up right now.
Yeah, go for it.
So back in, it says 1 year ago, but this was in May 29th, 2024. He put out this video called Geostrategy, the Iran Trap. And just the other day, this had 1 million views. And before then, I don't know. But now it's at 3.4 million views because he nailed it with this. And I think his even following has gone up drastically since all of this. But I want to play the clip from this that I think is worth paying attention to and realizing, okay, this is why this is blowing up right now, because he pretty much nailed it to the T. So let me just sit back and play this real quick.
Iran together. And Trump goes on TV and explains to the American public why the United States is fighting this war.
So he's already saying a war has started. It's 2027 or whatever, and a war started. Here is what the justification becomes.
Okay, and this is what Trump says. First, he says that for the past year, there have been violent protests in Iran. You have religious protests, you have political protests, you have ethnic protests. The Iranian people are sick of the Ayatollah. They are sick of the dictatorship. They want democracy. They want freedom. And in response, the Revolutionary Guard are killing thousands of protesters. Iran is on the brink of civil war. Therefore, the United States has an obligation to protect the people of Iran. Okay? The people of Iran are praying for freedom and democracy, and the United States, the world's greatest democracy, must give them democracy. Okay? So the first reason is freedom and democracy. Second, U.S. intelligence, along with Israeli intelligence, have discovered that for the past 2 years, Iran has been working very, very hard on developing a nuclear bomb.
So just real quick, the first thing that he said was that the protests. Okay, so we all saw the protests that have been going on in Iran over the past year or so, and especially started to heat up over the past month. And now he's going in and he's saying, well, the second thing is also this nuclear war option. And this was also, mind you, this is May of 2024. So this is before Trump is even in office. Okay. But he's already kind of laying out, oh, well, Trump's in office and this is what's going to happen. And this is also before, right, Trump goes and bombs the nuclear site that we had happen in the summer of 2025, or the nuclear program, right? So just wanted to kind of point that out real quick. This is literally a year, almost a full 2 years ago.
In fact, Iran is only 1 month away from having 3 nuclear bombs, so that New York City, San Francisco, and Los Angeles could all be destroyed. Okay? So to prevent this, we must strike first to stop Iran's nuclear program. Okay? Third, Iranian proxies, the Houthis, Hezbollah, many groups have been disrupting shipping in the Middle East, in both the Red Sea and the Strait of Hormuz. 40% of the world's oil passes through that region, mainly to East Asia, China, Japan, South Korea. Our global prosperity is at stake. We must go to war to protect these shipping lanes and ensure that the oil goes to China, Japan, and South Korea so that they can continue their economic prosperity. So the United States, as the world hegemon, has a responsibility to protect global prosperity. Okay? 4, Iran has been launching attacks against our allies, Saudi Arabia and Israel. Hezbollah has been violently attacking Israel, killing dozens of Israelis, innocent Israelis. The Houthis have been attacking Saudi Arabia oil fields, damaging the economy. We have an obligation to protect our allies, our friends in the Middle East, okay? And the last reason is, we know for a fact that the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps is a sponsor of terrorism. Last week, in a mall, there were gunmen who went and killed 107 people. Our intelligence says that it was most definitely an Iranian operation.
Okay, so that is an excerpt from the video that is blowing up right now, because, I mean, he's pretty much laid out a lot of not only what would occur, but even some of the reasoning behind it that's going to be used to justify why. So, pretty wild. What are your initial thoughts on this, Ben?
So it's pronounced Iran? Is that how it's pronounced?
Yes, Iran.
Got it. Okay, I was saying that wrong. So I met a guy literally last night, I was telling you that, who is from there. His family's from there. And why it's so hard to talk on these subjects, because there's so many things that we aren't privy to, especially if you're not from there or you don't have people that are actually there. But his point of view was that his fraction of people he knew from there were excited by what's taken place so far, because they did want the current regime out. And so, yeah, I was just a fly on the wall listening to him talk. I had nothing to say because I don't know anything, but it was just interesting to see that there is a degree of that. So yeah, it's insane the accuracy in which that he predicted this, but yeah, that's what we all have on that at the current point. What about you?
Fair. Yeah, I actually watched Diary of a CEO. He put out like an emergency episode a few days ago, where the people were, it was like Andrew Bustamante, who's a former CIA guy, and then I think like a professor, and then one other lady, I'm not sure exactly what she does. And it was a very interesting conversation, trying to really take in all of the different viewpoints. And one of the things that Andrew Bustamante was kind of pointing out to the guy who was also Iran, he was Persian, the professor, and is that he challenged him on, well, what if the people that you're talking to, right, have what if you're too close to what's happening, basically, is what he was saying.
From which angle?
From the angle of you're Persian, and so you're hearing your opinions from people who are basically looking at it from that side of the equation. So, and this was a larger debate that was being had around like why this stuff was happening and whatnot. So, yeah, just to be clear. And so it's all interesting. Someone also has been questioning some of the stuff that I put out about the protests and like people that were apparently being, killed by their own government. And I didn't know this, but people are coming at me saying, "Oh, this is a bunch of propaganda," and like I didn't know that there was any questioning, right, of any of this.
Got it.
But apparently, right, there's a big debate around, well, what about the protests? Where's all of the evidence from what's happened with these protests and stuff like that? They were like, someone commented on my Instagram. They said, well, just because the internet went down, because we talk about that, that doesn't mean that there wouldn't be recordings. So where are all of the recordings of what happened there? So once again, I don't know anything, right? But I'm just telling people what is being right, what the combatants are to what I'm talking about and what I'm saying.
Yeah, there's so many like fake protests in the world now too. Like there's so many people that will pay to coordinate a protest for a specific reason as well.
So there is a headline right now about some protests that were happening. Let me do my best. I saw someone talking about the idea that there were people who were paid to protest in a certain part of the world that they're suing the communications department of a government because they weren't paid for the things that they were supposed to go out and protest and like take videos and all of this.
No way.
And they didn't get paid the way that they were supposed to. Now, the problem is that when it comes to stuff that's happening in this region of the world, like we're so far away that is really hard to actually know what's real and what isn't. But I am seeing some news reports that are backing what someone was saying around a propaganda directorate being sued by unpaid activists claiming millions because they also apparently these people invested in going to this place.
Wow.
And were told they were going to be reimbursed. And that's not happening. So there's a lot of stuff going on here that is well beyond what I understand. But it is always super fascinating to hear from the people that are from the region and who have the ties to the region. There's also the debate around is what's happening right now. So just like with Venezuela, it was the same kind of a problem of, well, sure, this doesn't necessarily lead to a good change, or it doesn't necessarily mean for sure that this is going to be a better change that you're going to get. But when you've been sitting under this regime that's been oppressive for 50 years, you're like, well, I'll take anything
whatever
other than that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's sometimes some of the attitude that I'm seeing and hearing people talk about.
To successfully execute a regime change, though, will they not need soldiers on the ground there?
So that is a big part of the conversation that's being had at the moment is, well, just going in and decapitating the leader isn't going to change anything per se. There's like some people that have been saying, well, there's been no air attack only that has ever led to a regime change. If you only attack through the air, then 0% chance over history that that's ever occurred. So, definitely something to consider. And then, but then that comes back to what is the goal here? And this is something that Professor Jiang does talk about. And I want to take a step back on that in just a second here, but also, what is the actual goal, right? Because if the goal were regime change, then would the approach of just knocking everybody out be the answer, right? Like you kind of do want someone from the inside to be able to step in, because otherwise people aren't going to necessarily care about what you're talking about. Just plant some new leader in and like, okay, but who is this guy? Leadership doesn't just come from a title, right? So yeah, that's another major concern is like, well, if you're trying to do a regime change, then like attacking the ceremony where people are literally being elected again and everyone who would have possibly been a successor is now gone, probably isn't the best answer.
Yeah, no, there's so many angles to it all. And even seeing the posts that like the US government is posting about it all. Have you seen any of those?
Yes.
Like using video games to communicate?
Yes. That's been super wild to see as well. Yeah, the US is like putting out these like ads essentially about the campaign that they've been waging in the region, using Call of Duty, pulling up like the air drone strikes, like footage from the game, and like tying that to actual real strikes that are happening. I'm genuinely curious, like who is the one that's actually like, cutting that and like putting that together and editing that? Like I'm super curious because you have to be very socially aware, right, to be able to put something like that together. So I'm like, are these like, I guess it could be Barron and his boys, but no, but seriously, it's wild to see something like that. But that whole account from the White House on Twitter has just been insane since they took over.
Yeah, they really take the approach of eyeballs over anything, right? Like all press is good press.
And it's also fascinating to me too, because I was thinking about this last time. Like, this is only on X too, right? So they're very specifically targeting those kinds of people, right? That are on X.
It wasn't on Instagram?
Maybe it is. I'm sorry, I didn't see it there. I guess I'm the one who's on X, seeing it on X. But I guess just compared to like YouTube, even though it's a video, is kind of what was on my mind.
Got it. I'll see if it's on. If it's on right here. If it's on Instagram. I think it was the White House's page, right? No, they're on Instagram too, I think.
Okay.
Well, at least one that was GTA. Yeah. Operation Epic Fury. And then they do a combination of first it's GTA and then it looks like COD. And then the caption is Operation Epic Fury. Destroy Iran's missile arsenal, destroy their navy, ensure they never get a nuclear weapon. Locked in. That
Crazy.
is absurd.
Crazy. Yeah. So to bring it back here, everyone is trying to figure out, when we're looking at Professor Jiang, he's making all these incredible predictions. He's right on the money, but like, who is this guy? Right. And so I've done just a little bit of a background and I just wanted to provide that here. So who is Professor Jiang? So Jiang Shuixin was born in 1976 in Guangdong, China. Now, at age 6, though, he immigrated with his family to Toronto in Canada. How about that? And after that, he ended up earning a bachelor's in English literature with distinction from Yale University in 1999. So, born in China, raised in Canada, educated in the United States. In 2002, he was actually contracted to the U.S. PBS, the Public Broadcasting Service, which is like our one of our oldest media companies. I actually don't know that they're 100% state funded, but I'm pretty sure it's a state funded media service. And he had gone to China while he was working with the PBS, and he was reporting on a labor protest. So people in China were upset with, I guess, unfair treatment with regarding to their labor conditions. And during this labor protest, when Professor Jiang was there recording and helping out with PBS, he was actually detained for 2 days by the police.
In China?
Yes, in China. And a friend basically claimed that Professor Jiang was accused of making illegal video recordings and suspected of spying when this happened. And now, eventually, no charges were actually filed against him. And then he was deported from China in 2002.
To Canada?
I guess so. Now, there's like, and this is all, by the way, this is all from what we're being told, right, about Professor Jiang. We'd love to have him on and have him, verify the veracity of all of this. But this is what's on his public sort of profiles regarding his history. And like I said, so he was deported at that time. Obviously, he's back in China now. So I think whatever happened there, that kind of got figured out. But moving on from his career in media, he ended up having extensive experience as a teacher, and specifically in China, actually reform in the education space there, focusing on shifting from just memorizing facts to critical thinking, creativity, and global citizenship. Now, most of his career in teaching, from what I've seen, is mostly in like really young people, right? So he was a principal at Shenzhen Middle School in 2008. He was a deputy principal and director at Tsinghua University High School. And it says Peking University High School International Division in the early 2010s as well. He's been a teacher of Western philosophy, history, and related subjects at institutions like Moonshot Academy in Beijing, where he introduces students to major ideas in Western civilization.
Mm-hmm.
So he's been a teacher for young people almost this whole time, even though his whole tagline is Professor Jiang. But I don't think that he's actually been a professor per se at any universities, which is another funny, interesting thing about Professor Jiang.
So yeah, people are saying he's a CCP agent, and like could be, who freaking knows. But he also did go to Yale, which I saw too. That's a recurring thing throughout his stories, because there are so many connections to the main elements of the story in today's pop culture that like I could see why people would think he's a plant, right? Like there's so many things where it's like, okay, the elites are a big thing. The elites go to schools like Yale, Harvard, etc. He happens to know that world as well, right? So I understand why people would think that. He said in the stream with Sneeko that he's been accused of being CCP, CIA, Mossad, like everyone.
Tested in Prodcap said, I still can't tell if Professor Jiang is CIA, MSS, Mossad, FSB, or just a guy with some ideas. So, yeah, 100%. That's kind of that's the conversation that's being had around him. From what I've seen, as I continue to watch more and more of his stuff, it kind of feels like he will say, hey, I don't know for sure, right, if what I'm saying is actually going to happen. And he does give himself that grace and that hedge. And I think that's one thing that would be pretty humanizing to it all, or, civilianizing, if I may. Because, I mean, everything that he says, I mean, it all typically makes some sort of a logical sense, right, with the certain prefaces that he puts in place. So it does take an extreme level of context around the world. I mean, he grew up in Canada, went to school in the US, and was from China. So if you really think about it, he's had the beginnings, the roots of what would allow him to have a pretty unique perspective on how the world actually works.
Yeah, whether it was organic or not, either way, that would be the case. So someone said, isn't he a professor at the University of Toronto? I don't think he's ever been a professor. And definitely, I don't believe at the University of Toronto. But when I first saw his clip, I actually found him first through short form social media platforms, where the first time I saw his clip, I was like, this guy's gonna pop. Like literally the first clip, because I saw how he had perfectly captured the sentiment of Canada that a lot of people were just too afraid to say out loud. And so as soon as I saw that, I was like, okay, this guy's gonna pop. And then I went to his YouTube channel, and actually, let's look at his social blade. Let's see how much he's grown. Because I want to say I probably found him like, I don't know, like I don't want to say the wrong date. Let me try to predictive history. Let's see here. Predictive history. Okay. So feature projections, subscribers. They could make this look a lot. Okay, there we go. Monthly. Yeah, so oh wow. So it's August of 2025, he was only at 61,000 subscribers. And then
on predictive history?
Yes. Unless Social Blade is wrong, but I'll try to share my screen and show you.
I mean, maybe.
Yeah, this kind of growth can be pretty rapid. Let me see if y'all can see my screen. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Cool. So that's his channel, 1.64 million. And then maybe it's growth, but I think overall, that's just the overall subscriber number. So
no, that's the growth. Yeah, it's the growth.
Oh, it's gained?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no way, because I mean, he was at 500,000 like
monthly gained views
around then, I think.
Okay, well, so he's when I think his oldest video is only what, like 2.5, 3 years old.
Yeah, either way, it's all happened within 2 years.
Yeah, because it just jumps to 58K. Where's the and then obviously at the highest points, he gained 240,000 in September, and then 194. And I would venture to guess that this month will be his highest month ever.
For sure.
Pretty insane growth. I think it's also because like his growth trajectory is a lot like whether he did it deliberately or they did it deliberately he on all of his lectures, he touches across so many topics that are timely or relevant and questions that people are asking. So there's just such a good web of content to like to get binge sessions to then push the channel further.
100%. Yeah, man. And then all the people that take the clips and cut it up and continue to perpetuate the messages too. So the next piece that I wanted to go into here was this full laying out of the predictions, because we saw a piece of that episode, but there was another episode that happened where he made an even more clear, straight up prediction of what was going to happen. So let me play that for y'all real quick. And this is Breaking Points, who has put this together here with him that they had him live. So hold on.
This class,
that the U.S. would lose that war. Let's take a listen to that.
in this class this semester, I'm making 3 big predictions, right? First is that Trump will win in November. Second is that the United States will go to war against Iran. And the third big prediction is that the United States will lose this war, which will forever change the global order.
Definitely see why people would think he's a CCP agent, right? Because like, because I guess especially right, if you pull this off that successfully and you get that many people believing it, like that many people believing something is very powerful, like absurdly powerful. We've discussed the hive mind thing, right? So with the level of influence that he's now getting, also because a lot of people are really ignorant, right? So when someone comes to someone who's like seemingly this insightful, people will just take everything he says as gospel.
Very true.
Especially if he's been proven right.
True.
A few times, right?
Yes.
So, yeah, so I totally get where people are coming from. And we've also discussed this too, where it's like, it's possible for people to be plants and them not even know, right? Like the most effective plant wouldn't know they were a plant.
For sure.
Because they'd think they're doing this because I'm pursuing some bigger purpose. And am I saying he's a plant or an agent? I have no freaking clue. Probably not. Who knows? I don't know shit. But I'm just trying to explain, like, do what he does. You know what I'm saying? Like, go through the game theory of it all. So, yeah. Did you have anything else? Did I cut you off? Was there more to show?
No. It's all a very fascinating thing, right? Because right here, well, and so when he did the episode with Sneeko, the question was like, oh, because you're saying that this is going to happen, so clearly you're on this side. Right. And then he was like, yeah, but you're only seeing that one clip of me, right? That someone has shown you or that you've seen on YouTube. But it's like, if you look at all of my work, I probably said something that would be for the other side. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Which he does do a pretty good job of hitting all angles. He did say that he was going like, I want to say like a few months ago, he's like, oh, I got to be. He mentioned something about China. He's like, I'm going to start saying things that the Chinese government won't like, but he hasn't started doing that from what I've seen. So I don't know if he'll maybe start doing that. I'm not entirely sure. But
I think that's also a really important thing to talk about, right? Because from what I understand, I've never been to mainland, but like there's certain things that you kind of just can't say. And especially if you actually have a platform, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And he's in mainland, like he's not in Hong Kong, he's not in Singapore or any, you know what I mean? Like none of these different types of regions around that are specific outside of the mainland. So it's like, I don't know that he can just say anything, right? And if that's the case, then he's got to be to some degree only saying things that they're cool with.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So that's another, I guess, piece of the game theory to keep in mind.
That was my 2 cents too, right? Because again, I don't know how any of this functions, but just thinking if any of the degree of media that we've seen is true, I'd be very hard pressed to believe that they wouldn't be on this guy's or this guy wouldn't be on their radar like that.
Right.
So I don't know. It's definitely incredibly, it's interesting at the very least. And Carl's going ham in the comments. He's like, define insightful. I'm like, man, like I was speaking for like his growth trajectory, but I can pull up the definition if you'd like. So insightful describes having or showing a deep, accurate, and often original understanding of complex situations, people, or ideas. I would definitely say that definition of the word applies. to what we're experiencing here, at least from the optics, right? Like, again, I don't think we know shit, but from the outside looking in, it definitely projects being insightful at the very least.
Yeah. It's very interesting because he definitely has his own like biases or his own like takes on how this stuff will
Everyone
go.
will. It's impossible not to.
Exactly. And then so it's like, yeah, I mean, wow, just imagine having this guy as your high school teacher. Like, what? Oh my goodness. There's definitely a philosophy around all of what he's doing. And like he talks about it in the lectures. He's like, I'm not really trying to tell you, for instance, what's right or wrong, is one of the things I heard him say. Because one of the students asked, was like, but wouldn't that be a bad thing? And he was like, I'm not trying to tell you what I think is right or wrong.
That's your choice, yeah.
The goal is to try to understand how systems work and what are the levers that people are pulling, what are the incentives that people have. And yeah, like just to be able to have someone do that at such a high level for so many high level important topics in high school would be like, oh man, I'd be looking forward to that class every day.
It is, but it's so
weekends.
It's so different from what a normal lecture would be, especially at that age, right?
Exactly.
Where there's no options to classes like that. So, but it is also, someone else said that's just pass fail. Like he doesn't give them tests, which is also like, how did he even get the approval to do that class? Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Which is definitely interesting. And people have always made comments about like what you can see in the reflection of the screen and stuff, in terms of like there's like no kids there and stuff like that, or like all sorts of stuff, right?
That's funny.
I haven't seen any.
Somebody said in the chat that he like got kicked out from a school too.
Yes, that's actually what I was going to bring up next, right? Was apparently if you go to, you can find videos online. I saw it. It was like from a decent long ago, like 10 or 14 years ago, something like that, where he was trying to make a new school and apparently it didn't go very well. And he's mentioned that briefly in lectures. And that's also why someone says, they said, go back and watch his older lectures and look for consistency issues, which is always like, that's usually a pretty good way of seeing if someone is telling the truth. If the story is very consistent all the way across, that's usually a pretty good inclination, unless someone studied a lot. But yeah, don't care about this war, or is it just me? So from your guys' experience in real life, have you noticed most people don't care about this war, or is it just me? I think it's like pretty well any conflict. It's like, how close are you to it? Right? I think that really dictates the level of care, understanding, or perspective. Like meeting the guy from Iran last night, like obviously he was very animated about it, and because it's close to home, his family lives there, right? So of course you're going to feel a lot more. But it's also like the issue with a lot of the global conflicts is that like we're getting such a little bit of the information. It's usually from very biased sources, and like we don't even know the validity of the things that like they're saying are the reasons we're fighting over this, right? Like we don't really understand how things work.
Yeah. I mean, just to be fully transparent, I also think there's been a lack of proper communication around it. This was something that came up on that show with Diary of a CEO. It's like the director of national intelligence in the United States told us last year that we completely obliterated their nuclear program. But Trump started with that being the reason why, right? There was negotiations going back and forth over the past couple of months. Oh, we're trying to get them to stop trying to develop their nuclear weapons, this and that. They're not listening. But one of the big reports that's come out of like the alternative sources has been like, well, Iran was totally on board to, stop, basically to make a proper compromise, to come to an agreement. But here we are here, where apparently there was a strike that happened anyways, which, they were saying that basically no matter what, they were going to strike. But if clearly just from the United States alone, there's two different narratives that have been given that don't align. Rather, the idea that we've either completely destroyed their nuclear capabilities and in 6 months, all of a sudden they're back. Also, in that report, they said that they would not be able to develop a nuclear weapon until 2035. Right. Wow. So that's the literature that's in the report. So all of a sudden, it's a big problem now. They're another month away again, right? And you distract. So that's the debate that's being had online around this, and it's just not very clear instruction on or direction on why this is actually happening, what the actual goal is. Maybe I'm not paying enough attention, but I don't understand myself even what's going on.
Yeah, well, I think there's too much to pay attention to possibly even do that, and so then you get so overwhelmed that eventually you get cognitive fatigue. So there's a comment here saying Jiang says the Iran and Venezuela conflicts is to eliminate dollar alternatives to force a unified digital currency. They must close every loophole that allows nations to bypass the dollar system. I think I said Iran against Iran. So yeah, I think that's I think it always comes back to money at the end of the day, right? And so I think that we've already talked about it in the last episode. There was a lot of digital currency related or adjacent things going on before, and I'm sure there's going to be ties to it after too.
Yeah. Johan, I see your comment. I think you might have even posted something on Twitter as well. If not, it was someone else. But yeah, there is a massive narrative to keep in mind here, right? The petrodollar system being an important piece of how the United States has maintained power over the world over the past 50 years now.
It's so powerful, man.
Yeah.
Dude,
and it's being questioned. So
yeah, at least, yeah, it's because was it China who's trying to create a gold-backed dollar?
Yeah, the whole BRICS block, right? Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, Iran has been participating in some of that work, as well as I think Indonesia joined. A lot of different countries have joined this economic block of sorts.
Yeah, and Carl's basically making the claim that like technology has advanced far beyond nukes, where I'd be hard pressed to like argue that, right? Like how when did they fire the first nuke? That was a long time ago, no? Like how long are we talking here? When was the first, like Oppenheimer? When was that?
Like World War II, right? You mean
1945? Yeah, like. And I've also, I've done like a lot of like the UFO research and stuff like that, and that could also be propaganda to make you think that they have stuff that's way more advanced. Like who knows, right? Because there's so much misdirection, and when you're playing a game of perspective, like you purposely plant rabbit holes to go down that don't exist, right? Because then as long as some of them can be proved bullshit, then everyone's like, hey, calm down, not this again, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, who freaking knows? Leonard showed us the cat from what he believed was a directed energy weapon that he had said. I can't recall exactly.
Correct.
So yeah, I personally think that there's some tech that we can't even like conceive in our minds.
No doubt. No doubt. I remember I read this report from the Department of Defense a couple of years ago, and it was fascinating because I was just reading it. It was about cross-domain communication. And essentially, it's breaking down having systems that are like distributed systems that allow for, intelligence and data that's coming in from space to connect to information that's coming down all the way to the sea, or to what's happening on land, or to what's happening in information systems. And it was an incredible read. I don't remember the exact specifics, but I was just like, oh, they've been using blockchain for a long time.
Oh yeah.
That's what I kind of took away from reading.
Anything we're seeing today from a consumer perspective, I think they've had for a very long time.
Yeah.
Like even AI, I'm hard pressed to believe that that's not been like had for a long time.
Yeah, that's another very clear example, right? Like if they're using Anthropic in their stuff now, then they've already had, right, some way of being able to implement that type of a technology, right? They're just now using these types of models that are public facing and so on. I mean, yeah, they're not just gonna like plug this in, you know what I'm saying, and just use Anthropic. Like, no, they've already got their own systems that Anthropic might supplement in some way, or that they're kind of just like getting more investment into through a private arm that has the ability to scale investment, right, in that kind of a technology.
Yeah, and Carl says anything we see is at least 20 years old, at least. Yeah, that's probably pretty accurate. You don't have to look too hard to see how many times that innovation from a tech perspective has been like suppressed, or laws were created so that if something is created, it becomes ownership of the state, right? And so it's like, come on, you put two and two together. Like there are some really smart people out there that would tinker and figure stuff out, right? So yeah, what do you got next for me on the Jiang front?
So the big thing here that has happened, as we've talked about over and over again, is the Strait of Hormuz and the impact that that has on global shipping of oil and natural gas. So let's hear Professor Jiang break down why the Strait of Hormuz is actually so important.
Narrow, okay? This small area, guys, it's called the Strait of Hormuz, right? And it's important because it's really the center of the world. This one area is the nexus, the pivot of the world. Let me explain why. First of all, from the GCC, you have 20% of all the world's oil flowing through this narrow strait. Where does it go, guys? It goes through Asia, India, Pakistan, South Korea, China, Japan. India depends on 60% of its oil from this area. China depends on 40%. Japan, 75%. Prime Minister Takaichi of Japan has said that, listen, if the Strait of Hormuz closes, we will run out of oil in about 8-9 months. The entire Japanese economy would collapse in 8-9 months if the Strait of Hormuz were to close. And guess what? The Iranians have closed the Strait of Hormuz. Okay? So we can expect that the entire global economy will suffer greatly over the next few months. All right, so that's point number one. Point number two is, okay, so the GCC sends oil across the Strait of Hormuz, and what do they get back in return? Food, guys. All right, so people don't appreciate the GCC, but it is really the linchpin.
The GCC is the Gulf Coast countries. Okay, so it's all of those countries that are on the west side of that Strait of Hormuz, essentially. You got Bahrain, UAE, Qatar, Saudi, and so on. Just wanted to make that clear.
American empire. Because what is the American empire? The American empire is the petrodollar. All right? The idea of the petrodollar is this. The US dollar is worth nothing. It's only valuable when people want it. But the GCC says that if you want oil from us, you have to pay us in US dollars. Okay? Then that is the basis of the value of the US dollar. So if the GCC collapses, the American economy and the American empire both collapse at the same time.
So I do think there's something worth pointing out here, because what he kind of zoomed over the fact that Saudi Arabia and all of these countries in the region, they sell their oil for dollars. But that was an arrangement that came about, right? So like, why would they only use dollars to accept for their oil? Well, this is what happened right after 1976. You had the end of the gold standard in the United States. And then they came up with this petrodollar system where essentially the United States has offered to protect the strait and to protect that region with military might in order for them to continue to have protection of all of their resources. And in return for that, you are going to you're going to sell your oil only to other countries in US dollars. So that was kind of the arrangement that was made with the US. It was never official. This was just kind of something that occurred throughout that time.
The problem, though, is that GCC is an artificial construct of empire. It does not exist naturally. Why? Because there's no food, there's no oil, no water. Okay, guys? No food, no water. So these cities are able to grow in the millions because of all these petrodollars flowing in. If you close off the Strait of Hormuz, there's no food coming in, right? They're all going to starve. How much food does the GCC get from overseas? 80%. 80% of all the food it consumes comes from overseas, that it imports. It doesn't grow by itself, it imports. All right? So the Strait of Hormuz is really key. And again, the Iranians will close it in order to strangle the global economy and therefore bankrupt the American empire. All right? Second thing you will notice is these mountains. These mountains is what we call Iran. All right, this is Iran. This is GCC. Okay, this is not a fair matchup, right? Because these are mountains. And what can you do in mountains? Well, you can hide rocket bases. You can hide drone bases. You can hide missiles. And that's the entire Iranian offensive strategy, all right? From here, they can hide missiles and drones from which to attack the GCC. And what are they attacking? They're attacking three things, right? They're attacking American military bases. American military bases. That's number one. Okay? Is it possible for the Americans to defend against these attacks? The answer is no. It's not. It's the silliest thing in the world. You have all these bases in the Middle East where you cannot defend them against the Iranians. That's kind of strange. Okay, that's number one. Number two is oil and energy. How hard is it to blow up an oil field with a drone? Not hard at all. Can you defend these oil fields? No, you cannot. All right? Number three, And the most important is water. Okay, you guys don't know this, but the GCC has little access to fresh water. So the only way that it can produce water is what we call desalination plants. Okay, these factories that take salt water and then through electrical chemical process turn it into fresh water for the population to use. 60% of the water supply in the GCC comes from desalination plants. Okay, 60%. Is it hard to blow up a desalination plant using a drone? The answer is it's very easy. You understand? Okay? So you have this absurd situation where Iran is a mountain fortress where it can hide its offensive capacity, and the GCC is just this desert, this flat desert, and it is exposed to attack, and there's nothing it can do about it.
So I think that this was a very, very great breakdown of the real vulnerabilities here. And he goes throughout this clip here, and he talks about where basically this whole thing becomes a game of chicken. Because what happens here is Iran can technically just completely demolish the Gulf Coast countries immediately. They could just strike their desalination plants. They could just strike their oil facilities, and then it's over. I mean, those people there are, you can't survive that much without water. Okay, water's a big thing. We talked about this yesterday. And like, how do you really resupply water? I don't know that you can really easily just like help with that. If someone wanted to help, what are you going to do? You know, you're talking about millions and millions of people that are in that region that would not have water. That doesn't take very long to become a very huge problem. So what's happening here is like, this isn't necessarily a matter of who has the military advantage in that region in particular, but it's like, well, who's actually going to do the thing that leads to a much bigger problem where someone else is going to have to come and, you know, play big brother or whatever.
Oh, without a doubt. And I think the good thing that he explained there was the petrodollar. The concept is still something that not many people really think about or understand at all. And I think the connection to our show is that, like, when you think about that, the whole thing that we've talked about so many times, where if there is the potential where things could go poorly, you'd want a backup plan, right? And like crypto, Bitcoin, et cetera, could be theoretical backup plans that have been planted for a very long time for a situation that if things went poorly, right? So, because you think about that, most of the power is based on the petrodollar, and so you would need an off ramp, right, in case things go wrong.
And he does do a further breakdown of the financial aspect of this. So I will now zoom forward to that and hear him talk about this.
Again, the key is the GCC. All right. So the game plan is this: you have to destroy the GCC. Why? Because the GCC is the linchpin of the American empire. So what the GCC does is it sells oil, and then for US dollars. Where does it put US dollars? It puts US dollars into the American stock market. All right. So this is investments of the UAE, okay, Saudi Arabia, and Kuwait into the US financial markets. As you can see, from 2012 up to today, it's been exploding. All right? Because the US financial markets is one of the safest places where you can put your money. The intention is this. The intention is, hey, if I cut off oil and these countries no longer have access to US dollars, they're forced to spend whatever resources they have on protecting themselves, okay? And then guess what happens? The stock market collapses. The stock market collapses. The stock market is the real growth engine of the US economy. The entire US economy collapses with it.
That's one thing with stocks, man, how everyone calls like crypto projects, like all crypto products are meme coins. It's like, bro, stocks are meme coins. Like, unless you're getting like a dividend from it, how is that any different? It's whatever someone's willing to pay you for it.
Yes, but that is an important distinction to be fair, right? Is are you getting dividends from the investment? I think that's a really key difference. And plus, there are also legal ramifications for the stock, at least.
Definitely. I'm more so meaning on like a psychological level. Right. I don't think like people are like, oh, it's so far away. It's like, I think it's a pretty similar practice and function.
Yeah. I mean, from the retail investor, there's usually not too much of a difference in the way that you are looking at the opportunity, right? It's just number go up, number go down. And where can I get the most of the number go up for the least amount of number go down?
Totally. Yeah. And the more people you get in on it, the chances of it going down diminishes, right? That's also why the stock market has become such a reliable thing, is because so many people are banking on that continuing to go up. Right. So like the value will get created simply from more people knowing that it's going to go up. So it's a pretty insane concept.
Yeah. So he pretty well broke down there how important it is that, so to be super clear, right? I am Saudi Arabia. I have vast amounts of oil. I'm selling all of that oil to everyone, including places like China, whoever else wants my oil, and I'm only allowing them to buy it in US dollars. So everybody has to go out and actually get their hands on US dollars, okay, in order to transact with me. So there's a whole, not just me, not only am I getting US dollars and then I'm getting US dollars, and what am I doing with them as Saudi Arabia? I'm also taking these US dollars and buying other US assets, because why would I convert the dollars to something else and then try to buy something else, especially when the place I can get the most returns and the safest returns is going to be in the US stock market or in US treasuries. And so as that's occurring, you have, once again, all the other countries also have to basically play the same game if they're going to go out and buy from me. So now if China's going to buy oil from me, then they might as well just have their money sitting in in US treasuries as well. Because otherwise, they're going to have to take FX risks every time they need to go out and buy more oil. So, so as soon as this concept of the Gulf Coast countries, using a different currency or whatever happens, right, the whole system can completely collapse. And then from that point, you've got to have some sort of a response. Now, Professor Jiang has done such an amazing job of laying out the different incentives across the area. And one of the things that he talks about is how Iran, by essentially attacking, when they kind of responded, they attacked all of these different Gulf Coast countries. And when they did that, it obviously makes them say, well, wait a minute, hold on. Like we're catching strays here. We really had nothing to do with this. And this is provoking them to say, wait a minute, am I really on the US's side? Right? Because they kind of just did this attack that the US probably let them know. But is this worth my people getting hit? Is this worth in Dubai, where it's supposed to be the safest place in the world? Now we've got strikes coming in and people are like, oh, I'll never go there again. Think about it. Think about these Westerners, right, who have all this money and they think that's the safest place in the world. And now there's a bomb coming down.
Not anymore. It was a wild concept to begin with, Dubai. Like, I debated moving there for like 5 seconds. And then, because I had some buddies that have moved there and they were like big on like, let's go, whatever. And yeah, I was like, I don't know, man, there's too many things that can change too quickly. I don't think I want to live there. It also seemed so like an attempted utopia, where when the world around you is just so unlike that, I don't think that's possible or sustainable very long term. And I don't know the region well, but from it sounds like when you're sheltered in a space, like, yeah, it's like that, but outside of it's very different. So yeah, it's I'm sure people are reconsidering quite a bit.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Yeah, that part of it has always been fascinating. It sucks because there's a bunch of people that are like, oh, I told you so kind of a thing. But there is an aspect of, you are in the Gulf Coast. And that region has not necessarily been stable for a very long time. Right? And there's a lot of relationships that they all have with one another. You also have the fact that these countries don't have super strong military. So if someone did want to do something, what are you going to do? What are they going to really do in response? They're going to rely upon someone else to help them out. So yeah. And I mean, even for me, really understanding that Iran has 90 million people. Okay. Like, that is a massive country that they're sitting across from that could easily, once again, here, completely take them out if they really wanted to. So, crazy situation there. But to the point of the conversations that we're always having, this is certainly pushing towards some sort of a conversation around digital currencies. If not crypto itself, stable coins for sure are going to start to come up and bubble up out of this conversation of, how are we going to communicate value across borders? How are we going to get around all the sanctions that are being implemented? And you see it with Russia, you see it with China. There's going to be responses around how all of this goes down.
Without a doubt. Yeah. And then also you mentioned the like why on a global market there's a demand for US treasuries, where if that changes, then that whole dynamic that a lot of the economy is propped up on has to be either supplemented for or changed. And so it seems like from an outsider's perspective that the push for like stable coins on a global scale is really to shift the demand from nation states to individual consumers to a degree, right? Because if you're in a country where you're like, we're saying that this could potentially happen for the US dollar. This has already happened for like a lot of currencies out there, right? So even with all of the risks that we're referring to for people in states where their currency has been devalued like crazy, like this is still a safer bet for them.
Right. Yep. And that's going to be the most interesting thing, right? Because eventually, if you do see that kind of a thing happen with the United States dollar, then what would be the answer? There's only one answer. Where would you put your, well, I guess there's two answers. There's gold, and then there's Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So
that's why I said, like, it was probably like 6 months ago. I was like, maybe I didn't say it on the show, but one thought that I had was like, I think there's a scenario where like the stock market tanks and crypto does amazing.
This would be something that would be potentially something like that for sure.
Yeah. So it'd be interesting to see. I really want to get on Catherine Fitz. Is that her name?
Yes.
Yeah. She is a badass, man. Like, and she's so smart, man. She's so much smarter than me. I would love to have her on the show to walk through all this stuff because she's been very early talking about this stuff before anyone cared. And like, although crypto is fringe right now, look how quickly things become the main character. Professor Jiang is a perfect example of this, right? How now he's just like becoming a household name, either organically or by a push to narrative. You don't think that can happen with crypto too?
Most certainly.
Right. So things can change very, very quickly. It's also why it's really important to know this stuff, because the more that we know this stuff before everyone knows this stuff, the harder it is to propagandize people towards a bad outcome.
So true.
Right. Because when these narratives pop up, like the same people who are liking videos of freaking Call of Duty nuke attacks are right. They're about to think they know a lot about crypto when they're told from the White House page that this is how it works.
Right.
Right. So it's like, it's really important to have, that's also why I try to get Charles when we had him on, like to like actually explain people the path for how this technology leads to the outcome he's saying is possible, because crypto has done a horrible job of that. Like a horrendous job. They're either like, you get this or you don't. It's like, okay, so you're saying this is the people's technology, but the people don't understand it. How does that happen?
Right.
Right. We need to explain, like, okay, this is why it's broken. This is the alternative. Here is how it works on a technical level. Here's the implementation plan. And that's boring, right? Which I think is one of the bigger problems. But there's not even people really trying.
Yeah. And this is why I try to also just talk about the systems as they are today.
Yes. You do a great job of that.
Because people, we aren't taught it. No one's taught that information.
No.
And so it's a massive leap to go from monetary economics to distributed systems and computing.
Yeah.
From like, dude, I don't even know what the dollar actually is. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Like, I just use it to pay my rent, bro.
That's the whole thing. Anything I'm saying here where like I'm speaking to people's ignorance, it's not like I'm saying they couldn't understand. It's just, where would they have? Right. That's my whole thing, is like, I don't think that I'm smarter than anyone. I just think I got access to the information first. Right. And so I think that I think enough things are happening around the world where people are going to get crypto curious, is always the term that I say. So it's really important that there are people there trying to push a more transparent agenda, right? Where like, this is it, take it or leave it, do what you want. Because I do think that people, given the choice, make decent decisions when they have all the facts, but getting them is not exactly easy.
100%, man. Professor Jiang did talk a little bit about Dubai. I wanted to get his take on Dubai real quick.
Yeah.
Show you this. This is Dubai. And Dubai is considered one of the wealthiest, safest cities in the world. There are thousands, tens of thousands of Westerners who move to Dubai because it's clean, you don't pay any taxes, you make a lot of money, and there are great restaurants. And this is the model of Dubai. It's one of the GCC countries, okay? The Gulf coastal countries. And for the longest time, Dubai had a really good deal, because they were under the protection of the American military. So they didn't have to pay for defense. And then they were in the Middle East, which is the oil producing center of the world. And so they focus on aviation. They focus on logistics. They focus on finance, on tourism. They became extremely wealthy, right? I'm not sure if you've taken Emirates, one of the best airlines in the world. So their airport, Dubai Airport, is the busiest in the world. And Dubai, for the longest time, was flourishing under American protection. And Dubai said to the world, listen, we're like Switzerland. We're neutral. We don't want any involvement in any wars. We're here just to take care of our citizens, to make sure everyone has a good time, to make money. And then right after the war started, the Iranians attacked the GCC. Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Iran, Qatar, Kuwait, they attacked these places. And these places were like, what's going on? We're neutral, man. We're not involved in this war. And the airport was shut down in Dubai. At one point, the rich people in Dubai were willing to pay about $250,000 US just to get on a plane and get out of there. So the reality is this: for the longest time, Dubai had a reputation for being safe. And that's why people moved their money there. Guess what, guys? After what the Iranians did, it's dead. Dubai as a city, in the long term, it is dead. Because you're a wealthy Westerner, you're not going to move to a place where it could be attacked anytime by the Iranians. You might move to Singapore, you might move to Hong Kong, Japan, South America, but you're not moving to Dubai. So the big question for us is, why did the Iranians do this? If it was the Israelis and Americans who attacked you, why go after the GCC? And not only that, but they're escalating the attacks against the GCC. So this is something that we will look at very closely today. Well, the short answer is because these places, even though they pretend to be neutral, they house the American military. They allow the Israelis and Americans to use their airspace to attack Iran from. So this is Bahrain. Now, Bahrain is interesting, okay? Because I want you guys to remember this. But Bahrain will probably be one of the major centers of this conflict. Because, first of all, this is the American Fifth Fleet. Right? This is their naval base in the Middle East. And as you can see, the Iranians are attacking it with missiles, and it's being blown up. Bahrain is interesting because it has about 50% or even more, okay, Shia, which is the religion of the Iranians. But the people in charge are the Sunnis. And so what makes this strike really important from our perspective is, first of all, not only are the Iranians attacking U.S. military assets, not only are they destroying the economies of the GCC, they're also trying to ignite a religious war, right? Because you're Shia, you're loyal to the Ayatollah. If he's dead, then you must, as a religious obligation, now commit jihad against your enemies. It's no different in other religions where, listen, if you want to kill the Pope, the Catholics would be really angry at you and they would want to kill you, right? So now you have the Shia who will probably eventually arise, creating a revolution in Bahrain, okay? So I think Bahrain will be the first to fall. Dubai will probably go bankrupt. But in the long term, we can expect the entire GCC area, including Saudi Arabia, to eventually collapse.
Guys, I will say, like, everything is very doomsday. Like he's reached the thesis where like this is the end of the world, right? I'm a little more hopeful. Maybe he knows way more than I do, but yeah, that's everything is a lot more interconnected than I think people realize until they really start looking into things.
Yes, that's definitely one of the major things that I've seen people talk about is like this is much more complex than what, for instance, happened in Iraq with the United States. There's more players involved. There's more stakes. There's more at stake here, and it won't be an easy thing to kind of back down from. Well, so Professor Jiang, in one of his clips, he says the thing about this is that the U.S. can kind of just pull out and declare victory pretty much whenever they want, right? Because they could just say, "Oh, we did what we were trying to do. We wanted to do. Killed the leader, and now we're done."
That was the objective.
Yeah. So that was fascinating. Whereas for Iran, they would need to continue to fight, right? And the idea would be to just wear everyone out piece by piece, death by 1,000 cuts. And we'll find another clip where he talks a little bit more about that too. But that part about the Dubai people trying to get flights out, I was seeing that. Imagine, you're in Dubai and you got to figure out if you're going to spend $250,000 to get out.
That's nothing to a lot of these people, though. Like they spend millions of dollars for a low-digit license plate.
Right.
It's quite dystopian.
It's crazy. Yeah. I mean, imagine, though, you're one of those young people, and that's, like, imagine you had to really make that decision, too. It's like, this is all I got,
Meaning what?
That $250,000. Like, you're a young person out there, you're doing well, you're living the Dubai life, and it's like, I got like $500,000.
Like if I had to move when I debated a few years ago kind of thing.
Yeah,
bro. I would be stuck there. I'd be like, I'm going down. But there's some good chat in here. We appreciate all you guys giving your perspective and everyone just like, I would also say like, just come to it with try to be level-headed and don't get too angry about any of this stuff. We don't have full control over it. We're just trying to understand it the best that we can, and we don't know what the hell we're saying either. We're trying to figure it out alongside with you. So just keep that in mind. Brand had a comment here that I think is actually really important to understand or share, where they said right here, been in crypto for almost 10 years, still don't fully understand it. So I think I did a bad job of like explaining the point that I was making. I don't think you need to fully understand the technology on like a very technical level to understand the systems that could be created using it, is more the point that I'm trying to make, right? Because when we always say like they exist largely because there is no way of like monitoring right? And so for me, blockchain and it done the right way is very much like a truth layer or a transparency layer, where it's a lot harder to do shady shit when you can see that it's going on. And that's also why privacy is such a big deal, because you don't want everything to be public, but certain things being public are definitely in the public's best interest. So I think that's an important thing. I think just continuing to learn. That's also what attracted me to Cardano the most when I researched all the projects, was because that was really like their selling prop. Was and he actually, Charles has a quote that I should know by now, but he always says he's like, the political, economic, and something systems of the world can be improved via this. That was always his thing that he repeated. And that's really what sold it to me, because I was like, okay, that it really is here. Like, yeah, we'll get people in with the number go up stuff. But for this to actually make the change in the world, besides making individuals rich, like that's the only way that it happens. The systems get changed that made the world effed up. You know what I'm saying?
That's it, man.
Yeah. But what do you got next?
All right. So speaking of the complexity of the entire situation at hand, Professor Jiang points out the alliances that are being built or that had or needed for all of this to work, and what Iran's actual goal may be in trying to build these alliances. Here we go.
The population will start to coalesce and fight against the Americans. So that's unite the population. Second is build alliances. Iran has two layers of alliance. The first layer is called the axis of resistance, which I asked you to research. And the axis of resistance includes the Shia militias in Iraq, Syria, Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas, and the Houthis in Yemen. What's important to understand is that this is an alliance. They agree to fight together because they have common interests, which is to remain independent of American influence. But that does not mean that Hamas, Hezbollah, and Houthis take orders from Iran. They're not controlled by Iran. Iran supports them militarily and financially, but Iran cannot completely control their behavior. So the example is on October 7th, Hamas launched an attack against Israel, right? Which resulted in this war. And Iran says, we were not involved. And Israel says that can't be true because you control Hamas. So that's the first layer of alliance. But what Iran needs to do, if it is to win the war, is also bring in Russia and China. Russia wants the United States to fight Iran. Why? To distract and weaken the United States, and also to move the attention away from Ukraine, right? Because Russia is about to win the war in Ukraine, and if there's a war in Iran, then the United States will be forced to divert resources away from Ukraine into Iran. What would Russia bring to the table? Russia will probably not deploy soldiers. But what Russia would do is say to the United States, when you invade Iran, you are not allowed to use tactical nuclear weapons. Russia would say that, hey, United States, if you use nuclear weapons against Iran, we will use nuclear weapons against you. So basically, Russia would limit the military options of America in a war, which would be of tremendous benefit and advantage to Iran. China needs to help Iran. Why? What does Iran have that China really needs? What does Iran have that China really, really needs? Oil, right? So basically, China can afford for the United States to take over both Iraq and Iran, because then it can control energy supply to China. So China would involve itself over time in order to make sure that it's able to obtain oil from the Middle East. China right now is getting most of its oil from the Middle East. But it will take time for Russia and China to get themselves involved. For Russia and China to get themselves involved in this conflict, Iran must prove two things. What are these two things? What must Iran show to China and Russia in order to get China and Russia involved in this conflict? If you're China and Russia, you're an investor, right? Why will I invest in you, Iran? Why? So the first thing is we will fight. Second thing is we will win. So this will take time for Iran to prove this to Russia and China. And the more that Iran can show it can win, the more that China and Russia will invest in Iran, both financially and militarily and politically. So this will take time.
So I thought that part there was a super interesting thought. Iran needs to basically show that they can in some way actually fight. And then that'll get Russia and China to actually push over the the edge there.
That would certainly escalate the conflict.
Yeah, and that's when things get super wild. And I was just picturing to myself there, like, yeah, if the U.S. dropped a nuke on Iran, like, here is the other thing that is super problematic about some of the actions that the U.S. has taken. A lot of international law is not being followed, right? So once you do that, you've opened the box, you've opened the door to anyone. If you can just go in and take the leader of this country and kill the leader of this country, then why is Putin not just taking out Ukraine's leader? Right? Like, that's the one thing, right, that they've been saying is like, oh, it's international law. That's probably why we won't just like take out Zelensky. But now, like, y'all are doing this, so why can't we go ahead and take Zelensky then? So once you break the rules and there's no law, anything can kind of happen. And so, yeah, if the U.S. just dropped a nuke on Iran, I would not be surprised by Russia saying, heck yeah, like, it's our chance. This is our chance to take over. You know what I mean? We're just going to launch all of our crazy nukes that we have that we know the U.S. can't stop and end it all. So kind of crazy how all this stuff kind of goes down regarding the game theory of it all. But interesting thing that he laid out there. Hope none of that comes to pass.
Oh, that could make things very bad very quickly. Yeah, I think a lot of it's going to come down to like what exists that we don't know exists in terms of like military tech. I think that's a big thing too, right? And that's also so much of the game on a global scale is like, you can't show your hand, but you also want everyone to think you have something like crazy, right?
Yeah.
So if you think about that from like a long game perspective, like I see why countries would like push that they'd want to like have stories out there like, we have this insane tech that you could not even imagine, right? So yeah, it's crazy situation. There's so many angles to look at it from.
Yes. On the tech front, man. So there's also just like new domains of what can happen now. Like, even if we go back to, I guess, we've talked a lot about how like when you had TV, it was a few different sources that you would ever be able to go to, period.
Kind of a crazy, like, think of it, that was not long ago when all you had was newspaper, radio, and TV. And in total, if you're like not super rich, what did you have? Like maybe 50, 60 options, right? Like across all of that.
Yeah. Yeah. No doubt.
And they were owned by the same 3 or 4 companies, really.
Yeah. It was always still very consolidated.
Yeah.
So when you take that into account, that's one front that has completely changed now. The information side. So on my channel, I did a breakdown. There's different domains of war. You have land, sea, and air. You have space, and in between that, you have cyberspace, communications. Now, through that, there's obviously the infrastructure itself of the cyberspace, but there's also the actual information that's flowing through the cyberspace. And so when you think about that, information warfare has always been a part of the actual battlefield regarding if you're infiltrating somewhere, right? You have these people that are a part of what are called psychological operations. And they go in and they talk to the people, they speak the language, and they're trying to like get reconnaissance, for instance, on like what's happening around.
Totally.
And but now it's totally different now. You don't have to be there to get reconnaissance, to get information and data from people. You got people just out in the streets just filming stuff, live streaming, right?
Yeah.
And you've got also the messages that you're providing to those people.
You got to think that's why they made AI video or gave us AI video.
The thing that I think about how I think about how that technology like spreading kind of works is I think people are always low-key coming up with the answers for how that stuff can be done. But what the governments will do, and this is just my take on it, is they'll stop people when they're not ready for it, right? So like the guy who in like the 1900s came up with the car, the all electric car. They were like, look, bro, we got it too, but we can't let you do that. All right. So no. But then eventually, like 100 years later, Elon Musk comes around and is like, all right, this guy, he gets it. We're good. We're ready for this to come out. It's cool. So in that sense, that's kind of how I look at how that would go down. Because when you say they allowed it to happen, or why they let us have this technology? Is that kind of how you look at that, or what does that really mean to you in your eyes?
So, because the problem when you talk about any of this stuff is that, like, just saying it's from the government doesn't necessarily mean it's like inherently right away bad, right? Like, I think that's the one thing that's like, there are good people that work for the government all over the place, right? You disagree?
Well, it's just more of like the incentive of why there's good people that work there, but that doesn't mean that what they do is necessarily good.
Well, that's so perspective driven, right? But yeah, I think that most, like, everything that we see is like what we're allowed to see, right? So, and I don't think technology is immune to that whatsoever. So, yeah, there's so many ways that you can take it, and almost any way you take it, you'll sound insane. And I think that's probably part of the whole reason. Like, that's probably why. But yeah, man, it's when you really the more you dig into it, the more your brain like starts to explode, because it's also like, anything that you're finding, like, how do you even trust anything that you really read?
Right.
Right?
Right.
Like, we can say, oh, we think we know. We don't know shit.
We don't know nothing, bro.
Right? Because like, how easy would it be theoretically to like tailor what a single person is being seen? Right? Like, in terms of when they Google something or they chat GPT something, like, that person gets something different than, like, that's so easy to do, right? And then all you have to do to take someone's like credibility away is to like make them go down a rabbit hole that doesn't actually exist. And so then forever that person is just wrong even when they're right.
Very good.
Right.
Yep.
So like, that's the thing, is that like, if anybody who does discover something, they will eventually go down a rabbit hole of crazy because they'll be pushed that way.
One of the things that Stephen Bartlett talked about on that recent episode that he did was that he kept getting a bunch of emails as soon as kind of some of the stuff broke out, and they were basically telling him, oh, thank you for covering this. And eventually he got to the point where he was like, wait a minute, I'm getting too many of these emails, and they're all kind of saying the same thing.
Got it.
And he was like, and if I hadn't taken the second to really think about this, I wouldn't have like understood that this might have been in some sort of an operation.
Yeah.
And what's so interesting about it too is like he didn't say who it was, but I mean, I think it's kind of clear who it was or which side it was in support of, because basically, like, he's telling whatever it is that he's seeing, right? For instance, me as an example with, oh, they cut out the internet and we're killing people in the streets, even though I'm not there.
Yeah. How would
Now,
we
I
know?
did take this from someone who was there, but I'm not there.
Yeah.
But if I'm saying that, and then a bunch of people are emailing me and they're saying, oh, thank you so much for covering this. This is amazing. Yeah, you're doing the right thing. Da, 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 da. So I'm like, oh, well, I guess I should be doing this more. I'm doing the right thing.
It's like it happens with algorithms. We've talked about that so many times.
Exactly.
Right? Where you basically create agents through any sort of incentive mechanism, right? Like why do we go and hunt for food, right? Because we got a feeling release, we survived, right? We trained the behavior. Like, that's still happening with just modern day means of financial things or attention-based things. Like, that's always why whenever people have such a deeply rooted beliefs in anything that they found through social media, I'm just always like, come on. Like, you don't, like, that's also why we try to, like, the theme of this show is stay curious, right? Because we're probably wrong about almost everything we're talking about.
Right.
Because think of the filtration system in which media and information gets to us, right? So yeah, we're trying to take our best lens to it, but like, it's like the blind leading the blind. Do you know what I mean?
100%. 100%.
So,
That's how I feel 100% of the time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think anybody who thinks they know what's going on is full of shit.
Yeah.
Because also, if sorry to cut you off, but once you go down a path where like you followed your conviction and you're like, I went for this, and then you're financially incentivized, it's a lot like what you said, right? Where when you're financially incentivized and then now you're surrounded by yes men, where like you think you are impossible or to get shit wrong. Like, you're impenetrable. You're always right. You see that happen, especially with men. This happens more so, I think, because like that's how our wiring is. Like when you see a guy get really successful financially, oftentimes they change and not for the better.
100%.
So then also if you're controlling money, you make the right person rich, like you don't even need to directly control them. If you studied people enough, you basically can know if this person is like this, when provided this stimulus, they change like this. Can you get that perfect? No, you can get that pretty close, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
very close. Like the big thing, the things that I always like try to teach on this show is because like one thing that I think I'm the best at is like reading people. Like, because I grew up in a very messed up house, right? So I learned from like an infant, like how to read a room. And so I pick up on like the micro changes in people's behaviors, like expressions, right? And I don't think many people have that skill because I'll say something about someone and then 2 years later, they're like, shit, you were right, Ben. and we have blind spots to this. Like I've been blind to this in intimate relationships with myself, right? Like romantic ones, because I think everyone does have their blind spots. But without that lens, like I'm pretty good at reading people. And yeah, I just think that the whole world should like figure out whatever they're really good at and like try to share it. You know what I'm saying? Like you do that every day, right? Like, you're good at distilling information and sharing it down. But I think that people are a lot more predictable than we think that they are, or that we even think that we are.
Yes.
Right. And so then that makes it so that, and also that's why Canada is in the state that it's in, is because there is no easier person to brainwash than someone who's formally educated. Because now you are tying every bit of success, attention, admiration you've ever had to you being an intellectual human being. An intellectual human being could not have been tricked. I'm smart.
Right.
So that's how our country got to where it was, because everyone here has a university degree, dude. That's why our country's insufferable. They fucking suck. Dude, it's like everyone you talk to thinks they're the smartest person in the room.
There's a Bible verse, one, that talks about basically knowing and then happiness, and how there's potentially an inverse relationship there. Somebody in the comments, let me know what the actual verse is that I'm referring to. Where it's like the more you know, the sadder you get, basically. Not literally, but that kind of a thing. And I'm pretty sure that there's a certain level of that has been
proven,
psychologically proven.
Yeah.
But then there's also something that I'm also interested in is because okay, so we talked on the last show about like you can be super smart, but like once you hit a certain level of smart, it doesn't really impact your success level that much anymore.
No.
Right? Like you only need to be a certain amount of smart to be like super crazy successful.
Yeah, because I also think there's a lot of more important attributes for the current system that we operate in that have nothing to do with intelligence.
Facts. And so the other thing that I'm thinking about too is like also like quality of life, right? Besides even just the success factor, like what's the actual life satisfaction metric that comes with either being smarter or dumber? Like, do you lose life satisfaction as you start to know or become more intelligent?
That's a really good thought. Because I think anything that you take in, right, it's stimulus. And so then that comes down to like your interpretation of what consciousness or reality really is, right? Because I think that's really where you're defining like what free will is. Because depending on your perspective, I think we've seen many people who are really brilliant go down very dark paths because of how they interpreted the data, right? But then there's also people who know the same shit that are like in states of euphoria or like peace. So I think that's really where it comes down to, where I think trying to acquire as much data as you can that feels right for you, I think is a positive practice, but only letting it impact you in a way that gets you closer to where you want to go, I think is one of the hardest things to do. Because I will say that when I've been researching for over a decade on the internet for like a long, long time, but then there was a 3-year period where I was like crippled. So I spent extra amounts of time. And also I was mentally in a bad space because I couldn't walk, right? So then the negative information that I'm seeing hit me even harder. And so then that made me get to like such a deep level where I'm like, okay, would I actually be this sad about this before I was crippled?
Right.
Right. And because I couldn't talk to anyone or go anywhere, I got to the place where I was like, I probably wouldn't be. Right. So then that means I have the choice right now to not be like that.
Wow.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And so then that just like totally changed how I interpret information. And it also, I used to be a lot more reaction based to people. And then later I was just like, I'm choosing how I react to this every time. And so if I'm saying something about how someone is and I'm reacting to it in a negative way, like that's me, it's my choice. The same is true with data. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Love it, man. Very well put. Let me pull up one more thing that I had from Professor Jiang. This one was more about the collapse of American economy and how he sees that occurring.
Conflicts to elevate into war. So how do you see economic crisis playing into 2026, especially the US-China rivalry?
Right. So the American economy has some major weaknesses. And you're right that it's possible that America faces a great financial crisis this year. So let's go over some of the major problem areas of the American economy. The first is artificial intelligence, where right now most American GDP is driven by investment in AI. So just building data centers, which consume a lot of water and electricity in local communities. And what's a problem is that these data centers cost tens of billions of dollars. It's really unclear how these data centers will make money, because right now, how most people make how most people use AI is to generate videos and to like cheat in school, right? To get people to write their essays. It's unclear how this will be beneficial to the economy. And if it's possible for AI to be profitable, this will cause millions of jobs to be lost. So it seems as though the AI bubble is about to burst. The problem, though, is that right now the U.S. economy doesn't make any sense, right? So there's Michael Berry, who is very famous for predicting that in 2008, the subprime market, the CDO market, would collapse. And he took out billions of dollars in bets against this market. And he made a lot of money. And then he made a bet against AI because he was certain that none of the fundamentals made any sense in the AI industry. And then he suddenly announced that he was actually leaving the industry. And the reason why is, okay, the AI industry doesn't make any sense. But guess what? The entire American financial industry doesn't make any more sense anymore. Meaning that right now, the American financial industry is controlled by a few oligarchs. It's controlled by a minority of people who can dictate the market to their will. And so the average investor, market fundamentals no longer apply to what's happening. So yes, in theory, the AR market could collapse, but because there's so few players within the AI market, it's controlled by 7 companies. They can do whatever they want. And the American government has something called Operation Stargate, Project Stargate. And so Trump has promised hundreds of billions of dollars to invest in the AI infrastructure. So it's possible that this bubble keeps on going on and on. Okay, so this means that right now the American financial industry lacks the capacity to self-correct. And so if the market collapses, it's probably going to take the entire economy with it. And so that's a great problem facing the U.S. financial industry. That's problem number one. Problem number two is over-financialization. And this goes back to the silver example, where when China announced that it was going to limit its exports of silver, and China controls about 60% of the silver market in the world, the price of silver went crazy. And the reason why is that in China, silver is used for manufacturing needs. So silver goes into AI, EV, batteries, all that. So China really needs silver. But in the United States, silver is used for speculation. So silver is really it's only paper silver. And a lot of these companies, like JP Morgan, they're over leveraged 300 to 1. So every 1 ounce of silver that they have, they promise 300 on paper. And so it's a great bubble that's going to burst. Like what we saw in silver was almost like a small bank run. But it's not just silver. It's almost all these commodities where these commodities aren't used for manufacturing needs. They're used for speculation. And so the American financial industry is this great Ponzi scheme that's about to explode at any point. And the third great weakness of the U.S. economy, of course, is cryptocurrency, where Bitcoin, it's all just speculation. It brings actually no benefit to society. So you have all these major weaknesses in the American economy. But because, first of all, you have a few oligarchs who control the resources. Second of all, the American government can print as much money as it wants. There's something called quantitative easing. And third of all, there's really no challenger to the US dollar. This bubble can sustain itself past 2026. But when it collapses, the entire society collapses. So you're basically looking at civil war.
So civil war in America.
Yes.
I think cryptocurrencies is one of the things that I disagree with him most on.
I think what he's really pointing to there, and this is something that I've definitely wrestled with in my mind, is more of like, okay, when you invest in a company, that money is going to the company, right? And that company can use that money to go, as an example, when you invest in the primary issuance of a stock, okay, when a company raises money, okay, they can take that money and go out and do stuff with it. Whereas with crypto, there is no circular aspect to it. That money doesn't get circulated into the economy in any way. right? It only goes to whoever owns the assets, and it just goes in one direction, right? Unless those people sell and then do something else. But that also becomes counter to the thesis of it all, is that you're not supposed to sell. You're supposed to use it as the new system. So I think that's more of what he's really trying to point to there.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. But from everything that I've heard on him, I don't think he's researched crypto that much.
Fair.
Like that's I would say that's probably one of the biggest gaps in terms of his understanding of the technology. Just because when I've heard him talking about stuff, I'm like, okay, there's a bunch of stuff that I know exists that he doesn't know exists clearly, because if he did, the point wouldn't have gone down that path. It would have been slightly over here, right? So I think that more and more people are going to get educated on cryptocurrencies. And again, like, I don't think that he's completely wrong in what he's saying at all. That like that is a reality of the current day situation, right? But I think that the whole dynamic of cryptocurrencies, we're still very early in, as we've talked about on the show so much, right? Like even the benchmarks that everyone's using to dictate success or failure. If you really like looked at like what they're trying to do here, it's like so unbelievably irrelevant. It's impossible to tell that to someone when they were banking on it changing their life or buying them a home or whatever it is. But zoomed out, they're not, like none of this stuff is all that relative or important, or relevant is a better word.
And what stuff is not as important?
Like just the short-term prices, right? Or like partnerships with things that may not exist in a few years, right? Like stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah. Totally understood, for sure.
So, so this person's saying crypto is a Ponzi scheme, pure and simple. So is money, brother. Like that's.
Yeah. It's awesome to have that conversation, because it all just comes down to, well, which Ponzi scheme has more utility?
Or yeah, which Ponzi scheme is like can screw you less?
Yeah. Yeah. And so, yeah, man, it's tough. What we have here in the United States with the US dollar is 100% not a great answer. And usually someone who is in the United States is going to be the most blind to that reality, right? Because your money works just fine. You use it, you pay for everything, you can save in it, you can go and buy stocks with it, you can do all of these things.
Totally.
But eventually, when you're talking about nation states or other people who are suffering from the way that their money works, the US dollar is a response to that. It's like, well, I need at least the US dollars, but even that is like, oof, I might just need this Bitcoin thing.
Yeah, well, who knows?
Because you just don't want to have the counterparty. Like it eventually gets to where it's like, well, I don't want to have a counterparty.
I can't trust anyone.
To my money. Yeah.
No, that's a very good point. Really well said, Keith. Someone said, in order for crypto to become what people claim, do you really think the US would allow it? Be honest. No, that's a very, very fair point, right? And I think a lot of the messaging around crypto in general has been to try to not let it be what it could theoretically be, right?
Yeah.
So,
and I mean, for everyone who's in the audience, we all know, someone said BTC equals beta test coin, right? We constantly talk about, well, they might not let Bitcoin be the answer, right? They might not want that to be the real response. But there's also the technological aspect of like, how do you stop it? I do think there is a real argument there.
Meaning it's not stoppable, or what do you mean?
Bitcoin itself is something that is pretty difficult to stop unless you have the Satoshi wallet.
Yeah. Or even simply, you know this better than I, but if they just have enough of the supply, can't you essentially achieve the same outcome?
Which is why I say unless you have the Satoshi wallet, because then you do have enough of the supply to where you can have a massive impact on the market price and crush everyone's belief in this thing.
Yeah.
But that would be the only real way, is to crush the belief. And the only way to really crush the belief would be to flood the market with sell orders from the wallet that it created the thing.
Yeah, totally. But in like everyone, it's a very hard thing to wrap your head around. That's why also I'm really excited to have Jeff Booth on here, because he basically talks about breaking down, because even us, like we're coming with so much bias to every point of conversation. Like the words we've been fed, the order of those words, the concepts we attach to them have been fed to us for so long, right? So it's impossible to have like a truly unbiased conversation like almost ever. And there's always forces fighting you in your brain, even as you're talking, right? That's shaping. Your beliefs are shaping where you go. And so like if money goes to, like if money tanks, right? People are going to try to go somewhere. And then like that may lead to crypto being adopted simply out of like fear, like you said, right? I got to get in something. And then number goes up to what point? That's why when people are saying like, how high could Bitcoin go? It depends on your view of like what a collapse of a financial system would entail, right? At what point do you stop measuring it in dollars like we've talked about? because it's pointless.
Right. Yep. To fully talk through the Bitcoin thing, because I love my Bitcoin maximalists. All right. There's a few things that Bitcoin does have in place that make it really hard to stop. One of them is around, and I don't even know all the specifics, but just imagine this, right? The mining piece of it. So the miners are responsible for actually bringing the Bitcoin onto the into existence, right? They literally mint Bitcoin. You've got that piece of it. You've also got the nodes on the network. The nodes don't necessarily actually participate in the mining or the verification of transactions in that sense, or the minting of the new Bitcoin, but rather they monitor to make sure that no one is lying. Okay, so they're there observing all of the processes, making sure that everyone's playing fair. And then the third layer is the actual ownership of the tokens themselves. Now, I think that those are the three major things that are supposed to kind of like keep it all decentralized. There might be one other aspect that I'm missing. But the miners themselves, and this is something that I've learned, the miners taking over more than half of the network is not necessarily enough for them to actually have influence over the network unless the nodes who are separate from the miners also go with them.
Mm.
So that's the mechanism that's kind of in place around that piece, from what I understand. And then the ownership is supposed to be distributed enough as well to where like no one party could come together and just like tank the market. But I don't know that that's super valid or that it can remain valid. But I do think that that is the only true attack vector to the network, is using the financial aspect of it to crush the belief in it.
Got it.
And perverse the economics of it, right? Because eventually your cost to maintain the network as a miner or as a node operator as well become too high for you to even benefit from doing it anymore.
Yeah,
so you would stop.
So it makes total sense. Yeah, I think we should try to investigate and share more of that as we can, because I think the concepts are really important for people to grasp. And Jeff Booth always says every point I'm making is banking on the fact that Bitcoin can remain decentralized and secure, right? Because there's also the quantum threat that is thrown out. But I don't put too much energy towards that, because if it cracks Bitcoin, we got far bigger problems, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really excited to have him on. Also, I really want to get Simon Dixon on here at some point, because I think he understands the technology super well. He's been involved in it for a very long time. Super well-spoken guy, and he's also been in enough verticals of life where his perspectives are very, 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 very interesting.
Yeah, and he'll have the financial piece. Like
yes,
I'm very curious what both of them would have to say to what I just said around the financialization of it all and the financial aspect of it being the one attack vector. I'm super curious to hear what they would say about that.
Yeah, they did a debate on YouTube not that long ago. So if you guys are interested, it's pretty good viewing. It's Jeff Booth debates Simon Dixon, a guy had the conversation. He did a good job facilitating it too. So definitely recommend going to watch that. But what do we got? Do we have any more Professor Jiang clips?
Not from me. Did you have anything else you wanted to share?
Yeah, because I think mostly we talked about like doom and gloom war stuff, but I do think that one of my favorite things about him is his views on like life, spirituality, the purpose of existing, and all of those things, right? And so things that he refers to a lot, there's like the term he uses is like the monad, which is like the energy, the life force of existence. And then I think the divine spark is how he sees it is like the path towards the monad. I'm probably screwing up his interpretation of things, but he explains in the clip that I had
right here.
Yeah.
The first minute you said?
Yeah, the first minute just to explain like the concept loosely, and then at 10 something,
cool,
a kid asks a question that I think can lead to some decent discussion.
Okay. Do we do that first or play the clip?
Play the clip.
Okay.
Okay, so the idea here is this. If you read Homer, the Iliad, the Odyssey, if you read Dante, the Divine Comedy, if you read any of the great books, you will see the divine spark reflected in you, okay? These great books are a portal into the divine. The problem, though, is most people cannot read the Iliad or the Divine Comedy, okay? So the question then is, what do the common people do? And the answer is, Jesus is a portal into the divine, right? So if you just remember the life of Jesus, if you just recite his sayings, That will give you access to the divine. That will remind you of who you are. So yes, Homer and Dante are great. I love Homer and Dante, but you have to be very educated in order to read Homer and Dante well. Whereas Jesus, anyone can know the story of Jesus. Anyone can say what he says, and then that will give you access to the divine, okay?
Go to 10:30.
So,
and then a student asks a question. That's pretty good.
Cool. Let's talk. You want to talk that first?
No, the student in the in his class.
In the class.
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't clear.
And like do our thing that we want to do, like seek for the spark, but
rewind it like 10-20 seconds. Sorry, I gave you the wrong timestamp.
To be creative.
Yeah.
I have a question that God led us to be creative and like do our thing that we want to do, like seek for the spark. But since we are born, how can we really know the things that what we want to do? Like I think that requires socialization between other people. But if you socialize, they will brainwash you and affect to let you to seek for materialism.
Yeah. Okay. That's a great question, and it's a problem, right? Because as you say, your parents, the school, society brainwashes you to believe that only money matters, only grades matter. Okay, and the answer is you have to be brave. You have to be true to yourself because you yourself know what is true, right? If we didn't know, then Jesus would not matter. What if 2 billion people believe in Jesus? Because they know that Jesus spoke the truth. Okay, so listen to your heart. I know it's hard, and most of us cannot do it. Okay? And that's why in many traditions, like Buddhism and Hinduism, reincarnation is important because maybe in this lifetime we don't figure it out, maybe in the next lifetime, but maybe then 50 times away. But eventually you'll figure it out. Eventually you'll figure out that what other people say does not matter because this world we live in is a false world. Eventually you'll figure that out, and you're like, you know what I should do? I should do what I believe to be true. And then what you recognize is, oh, when I actually do what I like, what I enjoy, it makes me a more fulfilled person. And guess what? It connects me to the divine. Okay? I am a much more spiritual person now. And you can know because look at people's faces, right? When you meet a rich person, his face is kind of, I don't know, evil. When you meet a person who's generous, who volunteers his time, who is a good teacher, his face is different, okay? So remember Achilles, when you do evil, evil comes into you and it corrupts your soul. When you do good, good comes to you and it brightens your soul and you brighten the world with it, okay?
That's great. That's one positive, hopeful outcome for like AI, right? Is that hopefully more people are given the opportunity to do that. That's definitely very pie in the sky, but right, because very young, how I detected that most people were full of shit was because when I found something that I truly believed and felt, the expression through my voice was so distinct, and I noticed that almost no one talks like that. Right. So what he's saying is like I saw that very young because I'm like, these aren't your thoughts. Because when they truly are your thoughts, you feel it.
You just go. Yeah.
You just go. You feel it. You don't ask for permission. You proceed because you know it's what you're supposed to do. There are so few people that operate like that. And they've built a system that when people do that, you're penalized. Socially, we penalize each other. Most of my suffering has come from when I was doing what I knew was right.
That's crazy.
It's absurd, but it's true because when you see when people see someone doing that, they try to be like, no, you stop doing that. I don't know if it's a primal thing, if it's been put in through society, I don't know, but I hope that like why I've always tried to teach people. So when I got social media, I'm like, I want to teach everyone how to use this because I think that if everyone is doing shit they actually like, the world gets way better, way faster. That was like my thesis for like why social media and why did I give education away for free was because I was like, if more people knew how to do this and could make money from this and they're only doing shit they liked, I think they inherently become better people. Right? That was like my whole thesis. And so that's also why I gravitated towards Jiang is because he brings that stuff up as well. So it's not just like purely doomsday and the world is fucked. Like I do recommend going to watch his other stuff too, because he talks about different philosophies and all of these different things and through history. He even talks about conspiracy theories a good bit too, which is fun. He talked about the moon landing in one.
Yeah,
So
I've got to continue to consume his stuff.
it's good, man. It's good. I always do what you do, fact check, but he does do a pretty good job of saving you time.
Yeah, and I mean, really, when we look at what he's breaking down, it's philosophy, right? Like honestly, even in these types of lectures, I don't know that like that could have been a philosophical take, right? He's saying, hey, this is what these people believe. This is how they operate. He might agree, right? But I think that's kind of what he's always doing is breaking down the philosophy of how things work and the systems that have incentives of how those things work as well. And trying to explain in some comprehensive way like how the world works. So yeah, he's got really cool stuff about like what's the meaning of life and all that kind of a thing.
No, definitely. Carl says following your passion is also how you end up being a broke non-professor. LOL. So that's where I saw like, because social media, because that was absolutely factually right before. Like most people doing what they wanted to do, there was no route to monetization in the current system, right? Social media flipped that entirely on its head. And anyone who saw that early became disproportionately wealthy.
Facts.
Right. And so, and a lot of them got taken down dark paths because they were like too successful too early. But people could have easily gone down very obscure paths where no one probably would have touched them and they could have made a comfortable living. That's really who I was trying to speak to when I was making this shit. Was like, you can do this. And Gary Vee's been pushing this for far before I ever talked on the internet, where he was like, you can go make a full-time living talking about whatever you're super obsessed with and be around those kinds of people all the time. And that opportunity was present. But now, because a lot of the people are actually trying it, it's way harder than it used to be. They're like, oh, it was never there. Like that's like that lady that called me out when, I think I've told you this personally, I don't know if I've talked about it on the podcast, when I went on the radio show. I probably have. And then
maybe once, I don't know.
Yeah. So I got into the new one of the radio stations here in Canada, and they brought me on. It was kind of like a gotcha piece, honestly. It's kind of bullshit. Where they brought me on, they got me to explain my story. Like they're like hyping me up in the studio, like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I'm teaching everything that I knew was real, right? Like the things I'm saying today, I was saying 7 years ago in that seat, right? Or 6 years ago, whatever it was.
On the radio.
Live, right? And then as soon as I'm done, this lady comes on who's a social media expert who's never posted a video and just shit on everything I just said.
Wow.
It was crazy, man. And I didn't get, and like, I was like, can I respond to this? And they're like, no, that's not how it works. I'm like, why did I even come here?
That's super messed up.
Carl, I disagree with this too. So social media is a popularity/looks game, sadly. That's not true. How can you say that? Show me your social media audience. Right? Like everyone who says these opinions, they've not been growing businesses in social media. You know what I'm saying? Like I know people who are not attractive that have made a lot of money. I know people that aren't well-spoken who have made a lot of money. It's very easy to say it is like that because maybe that was the first generation and that was true then, but things change.
Yeah. I immediately went to my head for this one influencer. I gotta find that for today, Carl. I'll back you on one of the examples of what I think you are saying.
There's definitely truth to what he's saying, for sure.
Yeah, that's all I was gonna say is like you'll see asymmetric return from your time. But if you've got those things going on, for sure.
But if but for the thing that I'm saying, like doing this for the love of the game, I don't think that's part of the equation that much. It may help you, but you could still so it depends on what your measuring stick is, right? So if your measuring stick is, I want to be super rich
really fast,
then I agree with you completely. But if your measuring stick is, I want to do this and take care of myself, then I completely disagree.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, and because that is real, I experienced it within my own niche. Like the girls got more followers than me, even if I gave better information, right? Because they were prettier than me, right? So that is absolutely real and part of the equation. But it depends on what are you optimizing towards. Like, are you optimizing towards making the most amount of money possible? Of course, it's going to be easier if you're good looking.
One of my really good friends, before I even got on YouTube, he was talking about doing a YouTube channel for fishing because he's really big into fishing. And he's continued to show me all these people that are doing it. And I mean, their faces aren't in it at all, but they are monetizing something as simple as fishing at a very high level. And they're just normal people. And that's his whole thing. He's like, dude, like I can do this. Like these are like backwoods, like normal people.
Everyone could have, right? But because they didn't see an example beforehand, they just said, I can't. Right. Then they see someone go and do it. And then they're like, okay, like this is something that I could do. They could have done it before. right? Like the audience was out there. You have to have the courage to talk to no one for a while.
That's it. That's it. Just literally just making stuff for the love of the game, like you said.
Yeah. And that's also why, because why I always taught the strategy was because I was like, there is a fine balancing act here, right? Like, I understand that we live in a capitalistic environment. And so my approach to it was, okay, tell me what you love, and I'll tell you how to say it in the way that attracts the people you want the fastest. That was my like happy medium.
Love it. That's right on. And then there's this concept that I think we've talked about on the show at least once, but I'm going to always talk about this. This concept of the Ikigai.
Yeah.
Where it's like, what do you love? What does the world need?
Mm-hmm.
What can you be paid for? And then what are you actually good at? And trying to find that perfect little piece in the middle. And this doesn't have to be to create content. This could be to do anything, right? But I did this exercise when I started my YouTube channel.
Awesome.
And this was how it gave me one piece off of what they called what I ended up calling the inner operator.
Let's go.
And it was just this mix of the things that I love, being, talking about finance and money and stuff like that, but then also like the spiritual side of things and like, what does that mean? And like, how do you actually get to be where you want with your money? And essentially that was what the answer was that was the name. It was like the inner operating system or something like that. And I was like, okay, well, a little bit too corny, but yeah. So
no, I think it's beautiful, man. Do you still have that exercise like that you wrote out?
It's in ChatGPT. It's in my history.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I can go back and find it.
We should go through that at some point in the future. Cause I think like we say these things in practice, but you and I are clearly people that do shit. Right. Mm-hmm. And anyone can become someone who does shit, but they like a lot of them need like a curriculum because that's how they've been taught to learn. Mm-hmm. I think part of our job is giving people that curriculum. Right. Love so like, cause we just said in practice, we're like, do the Ikigai, but I think it'd be a lot more powerful if like we did that with someone.
Super true.
Right. I think we should try to do that in the future because I know that a lot of people get stuck. It's also AI is great for that. I call it the unstuck machine, right? Where you can literally go into it. Say, Keith taught me about the Ikigai exercise. Can you teach me how to do it? Mm. Right. Like do that, guys.
100%, man. Man. Yeah.
What's up?
I think I got nothing else.
Good. That's all good. But thank you.
I'm searching.
No, you're good. It'll come when it needs to. But I think that's pretty well. We had 2 more clips about like the agriculture trap. Did we talk about that already? Did we show that one?
I think it'll come up at a later date.
Got it.
It'll come up at a later date.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then the Chase Hughes clip that I had there, I think was like Chase Hughes is someone that I definitely feel is worth watching. He talks about a lot of the stuff that I talk about, but like from a far more structured way. Like I'm kind of like a vibe social psychologist, whereas he talks about like specific words.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've never been a big like framework guy. Maybe I should be more of that. But like he is like this word, probably because people learn better that way. But he did a video that I recommend everyone watching. It's pretty long, so we don't have to react to it. I'll just throw it in the description. But it's basically about the psyops and the potential reality of psyops taking place during this Iran conflict.
Yes. And these are so awesome. He's really, really interesting. So he's a former U.S. Navy chief who specializes in behavior profiling, persuasion, and body language, and he trains intelligence personnel worldwide. So he has continued to talk about all this stuff, but he was like, during 2020, what were the different ways to identify how what you were seeing might have been a psychological operation? And I don't remember all of the points that he made like right off the bat, but it was a very, 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 very interesting breakdown, and that he constantly is, rotating around because there's always this stuff going on.
Totally. And he's a very awesome channel. Definitely go recommend watching his stuff. If you feel so inclined, his book is also pretty solid. It's very big, but it's solid. It's also super expensive. It was a paperback book that was $300.
Yeah.
I was like, what the heck?
And I'm like, dude, it's gotta be worth it, right? It's gotta be.
I'm only like 10% into it, but and because I've been studying this stuff for so long, a lot of it is saying stuff I already know, but with more formal words. Do you know what I'm saying? Like more formal frameworks, which is still very helpful because it allows me to, I guess, say it better in ways that other people can understand. Because I've always been like, people can say shit in like almost whatever way makes sense to them, and I can piece it together in my brain. But that's only because I've been doing that for a very, very long time. Like most of my education has come from not school, right? So I basically got to teach myself how to learn. I don't think many people have ever done that.
Super true.
And obviously you have. And like, look how much you can learn way faster when you just decide, especially with AI and social media, dude. It's endless. And I saw someone say that what I really liked was, I think one of the most powerful skills on the planet right now is discerning between like what is worth your time and what is not. So Daniel says, every time I turn around, you guys are either having a guest or showing a little video clip of people that I actually listen to and respect. What an awesome confirmation. That's like the whole game, because when you can watch and listen to anything and anyone, that decision will dictate your entire existence.
For sure, man.
So take that stuff seriously. That's also why it's like not worth watching garbage too. But what do you want to move on to now?
So first off, I appreciate the comment there, Daniel. I think we could dive into a little bit of news.
Let's do it up.
It's only been a day, but there's already been some stuff going on.
Bro,
so
it's crazy. So much damn news.
One of the things yesterday is that Netflix has acquired the startup founded by Ben Affleck that makes AI-powered tools for filmmakers. The system builds AI models from a film's dailies to assist with post-production tasks like color, relighting, and VFX while keeping filmmakers at the center of the process. The CCO of the company says the tech will provide creatives more choices, more control, and more protection for their vision. So this is causing a big hoopla, because just a few years ago, a lot of people in the industry were freaking out about their jobs potentially being taken. They went on strike. They were like, look, this AI thing is not happening.
That was really the first thing that put it on the public's radar.
Facts. Yeah, that got mainstream people to pay attention. And so Ben Affleck, pretty much during that time, was like, I'm gonna like work on this thing that's for sure gonna actually replace people that I think will be replaced, which is the people who are doing the VFX and the editing and all that kind of a thing. So there was like a meme that was going around how he was like Hollywood goes on strike, and then Ben Affleck immediately starts the company that's actually going to put them all out of business as they were doing that. So that was something. Yeah.
He also went on Rogan. Did you see that? A few of his clips went very viral. He was discussing about how AI writes and why he's not worried as a writer.
Interesting. I have not seen that.
Very interesting with the news there, right?
Yes. Cool. Another thing that happened today is today's NFP in the United States. We got the labor report, jobs reports, so people are freaking out about it. The economy unexpectedly loses 92,000 jobs in February, below expectations of a 58,000 job gain. The unemployment rate went to 4.4%, above the expectations of 4.3%. This marks just the second monthly job loss, since the 2020 pandemic. It says the U.S. labor market is clearly weakening. Okay. So, there was also revisions that have happened. Let me quickly show you that. So December was revised down by 65,000 from plus 48,000 to negative 17,000 jobs in December. January was also revised down very slightly by 4,000 jobs. So labor market in the U.S. is not looking all that great.
Yeah, no, I think that's just the beginning, a tip of the iceberg kind of deal. And Carl says, AI has already won. Tyler Perry stopped construction of a $1 billion studio in Atlanta after he saw an AI demo. Yeah, I remember hearing that story.
Wow.
But a lot like social media democratized media a lot more so, AI will just democratize everything else. Like, I don't think, if anything, I think short term, like there'll be a lot of financial instability because a lot of our money is propped up on systems that probably shouldn't exist the way they do, and they're very extractive for the people that are at the top. But like all that's going to get flipped on its head. So like short term, it'll get very messy. Long term, if we get through it and we don't blow each other up, things could get a lot better, right? Because now the best creatives theoretically should be able to make whatever vision that they had in their mind, right? Tell the story, regardless of access to capital. Like how many artistic decisions are made by dickheads in suits, right? Because they dictate the access to the capital, and then the artist can't actually express themselves. Happens in music, happens in film all the time.
I think I'm starting to more fully see a vision This is probably slightly dystopian,
Hit
but
me with it.
here's what I'm picturing. I mean, we've already seen the movie WALL-E, right? Where you
Yes, we
kind of
have.
just go around on a little scooter thing in the spaceship. But I could see to where this is crazy out there. But right now, what do we call this whole internet thing as far as like, we call it the attention economy,
Mhm.
right? Well, what if that actually just becomes a whole thing? Like wherever you spend your time, whatever you're looking at the most,
Oh my
is kind of like
God.
how you spend whatever
That's your
credits that you
So-
get from the
bro.
government.
So it's like that video where the guy like they all have like their amount of time left on their life on their head and they spend it.
Yes, like that. In time.
Bro.
That's kind of how I could see it going, low key. UBI straight to the creators who are creating stuff, and they're the ones, I guess, who get to monetize or get, to where they're not only off the government handouts. And then obviously all the other stuff that you need. But I don't know. Yeah, it's something that was kind of hitting me right there around like just like credits being spent versus where you're paying attention.
It's already kind of like that.
It is.
Right? in an indirect way. Like there's not like a direct path to follow it, but it more or less is, right? If you're paying enough attention. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. That was freaking awesome. But Jay Heron said the necessity for blockchain tech is coming soon. And I would agree with that. Right. We talked about it a bunch of times where Charles is basically saying that like people will be begging me to use it. I may be an idiot right now, but that's only because things haven't become what people like. Everyone always thinks that things will just remain the same. And I think that's one of our fundamental flaws of humanity.
100%, man.
Right? Because there's two problems there, right? Like we don't think it can get as bad as it possibly could. We also don't think it could get as good as it could. Right? We're just complacent along the whole path. We're just kind of going through.
Well, yeah. That's a good point.
So we'll see. But yeah, thank you for sharing that. That was awesome. What else you got?
Next piece. Earlier today, Trump says no deal with Iran to end the war without an unconditional surrender. So basically he's saying, look, unless they completely surrender, then there will be no deal. After that happened, we saw oil continue to spike higher. Oil, this is crude oil futures. So let me pull up the WTI, oil West Texas Intermediate, sitting at $88. Brent crude oil sitting up at $90, hitting up a high of $91 today. Yeah, I think oil is going up. I think that's fair to say. A little bit of a spike in the price of oil. So just wanted to point that out as these talks continue to happen, as this conflict continues to wage on. Oil is going to be the one who's going to be, the major casualty in the financial markets. I say casualty, but it's going up, obviously, which is bad for everything else, essentially super hyperinflationary type of a scenario. And if things don't get under control in the Strait of Hormuz, then that number is going to go up way higher than that. In response to some of this whole issue, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and the Treasury in the United States have made a little bit of a move. So to enable oil to keep flowing into the global market, the Treasury Department is issuing a temporary 30-day waiver to allow Indian refiners to purchase Russian oil. This deliberately short-term measure will not provide significant financial benefit to the Russian government as it only authorizes transactions involving oil already stranded at sea. India is an essential partner of the United States, and we fully anticipate that New Delhi will ramp up purchases of U.S. oil, and this stopgap measure will alleviate pressure caused by Iran's attempt to take global energy hostage. So to explain a little bit of what's happening here, the U.S. has been trying to keep everyone from buying Russia's oil, mostly due to them basically implementing sanctions around the Ukraine war. They're like, look, guys, stop funding Russia's ability to attack Ukraine. But a lot of people are like, well, I don't want to rely on you for oil either. So Russia's right here. It's much cheaper. I don't have to worry about the logistics as much as for Europeans, for instance. Like, we're good. We'll buy oil from Russia. Y'all, do whatever. But then eventually the U.S. is like, look, we are defending Europe. We are spending all of this money defending Europe. And you guys are literally taking your money and buying Russian oil from the people that are creating the conflict. Like, why are we supporting you guys and defending yourself against Russia when you are buying Russian oil? And so so the U.S. has taken measures, right, with the whole Greenland thing. That was what that was really kind of about.
Yeah.
They're like, look, we need Greenland. If y'all are going to keep on, like, we're going to spend money on this side of the world, right? So y'all either are going to be able to, stop buying Russian oil, or we're going to take over Greenland type of thing. And so as all of that's continued to play out, there's also other countries, right, like India, who buys a lot of oil from Russia. And the U.S. just cut a deal with India, I guess, in the past couple of months or so, where India has agreed that they will start buying more of U.S. oil instead of Russian oil. But right now that this conflict is going on, people are like, look, I need oil. I don't care where it's coming from. And Russia, it stands to greatly benefit from that at this moment, because they're the ones who have been kind of cut off from the system. And so the Treasury Secretary here said, look, for the next 30 days, while you guys transition to us, y'all can buy Russian oil from the ships that are just sitting in the sea. Because honestly, the truth is, this isn't like some oh, we want India to do well. No. If any of these large countries that are buying oil are facing a supply shortage, the price of oil is going to spike across the globe. So this is really, a protection measure for the U.S. as well.
Totally. No, I know that's like oil is so tightly integrated to like every economy, which is like you can't overstate that. Energy is the whole thing.
No doubt, man. We very much so discount that because it always goes so smooth, but
yes,
this is not a smooth situation.
And states of panic also lead people to do like very crazy stuff. Like just look at COVID, with people were hoarding freaking toilet paper.
Right.
Right. So people make some wild decisions. Sorry, go ahead.
That's a good one, because that's happening on a global scale at the moment. Okay, so next thing we got here is there was some reports about like a data center in the UAE getting hit by Iran. And apparently there is some reporting that this is intentional, that they are actually trying to take out and attack AI data centers and just data centers in general as a part of the attack. So I just wanted to point out that that is a part of the battlefront here. Another thing, and this is just something that has been rumored at the moment, I do not think this has been confirmed, but apparently the Trump administration is preparing a rule that would restrict AI chip shipments globally if they didn't have U.S. approval, per Bloomberg. The details include regulation will require companies to seek U.S. permission for virtually all exports of AI chips. NVIDIA and AMD would be heavily impacted. Rules would set the U.S. government as a gatekeeper for the entire AI industry globally. And specific approval process is based on how much computing power a company wants. So don't know how legit that is, or if I'm even properly understanding what they're saying. But I think the idea is like literally across the globe, they would have control over who's getting chips. But I mean, at the end of the day, I guess it's all coming out of Taiwan anyways, right? So I don't know how that's going to work or what that's actually about, but just wanted to share that as it came across my desk. Any thoughts on that?
No, man. I don't know enough to have any sort of opinion. I don't want to say something.
We'll move right on through it. Danielle DiMartino Booth, shout out to you. We'll definitely have to have you on. She said Oracle plans to cut thousands of jobs in the face of the AI crash crunch. And we've seen other reports of Oracle reporting layoffs over the past 24 hours or so. Yeah, so there was like, I think it's like 2,500 or so employees that they're planning to lay off inside of Oracle. It might even be more than that. But just something to keep an eye on. Even the largest AI companies here, or tech companies in general, are planning to cut jobs right now. And that's kind of where we're at.
Totally. It's wild, man. Yeah, I think especially as people have been rewarded for making that decision, like I think that's only going to continue to experience. And Carl, we need you to chill a little bit in the chat, man. I now see why people think you're a bot. This guy types so fast. Also, I'm very curious, like, who do you like? Because I've heard you just like dislike everybody. But what else do you got for me, Keith?
Fantastic. So speaking on the AI and the job cut thing, there was some report that I think Anthropic put out, which studied which jobs AI could theoretically replace versus which ones it's automating now. Computer and math, 94% exposed, legal around 90%, management, architecture, and arts, all 60%. The observed usage so far is a much smaller fraction of that, but they say that the gap is closing fast. Every field where the blue line towers over the red line is borrowed time. And you can see here where some of the most impacted things are management, business and finance, computer math, engineering and architecture, life sciences, legal, arts and media. The stuff that seems to be safe, healthcare, protective service, food, grounds, personal care, sales is actually pretty well protected. Agriculture, construction, installation and repair, production, transportation. So this is, just Anthropic themselves, right? Putting out a report.
Transportation won't be impacted?
Yeah, that's a weird one. I also think that this must be about large language models in particular too.
Got
right?
it.
Because
Yeah, because I it seems like that self-driving cars are pretty dang close to being more and more accessible.
Exactly, and even transportation from just the large language models perspective. That's the only way you can make a lot of these claims, because it's no construction, no installation, repair, no production. It has to be only large language models is what they're referring to.
Got it.
Because robotics would address a lot of that. Cool. So yeah, just wanted to share that. It's making the rounds. People are talking about that. And then this one is pretty fun. Do you know who Jeremy Lin is?
Jeremy Lin, the basketball player?
Yes.
Yeah, Jay Lin was nasty on the Knicks.
Yes. So there was, I guess he was on some podcast. I'm not deep in the sports. It's called Above the Rim. It looks like Dwight Howard and some other folks. And he came onto this podcast and basically made a statement that might point to the idea of the industry and the league being a little bit rigged. So let's hear what he had to say about that.
I mean, I'm not going to name the organization because I'm not trying to throw anyone under the bus, but there was one specific game where it really hit me. Was I had 20 and 10 after 3 quarters. We were up about 15 to 18. And in the 4th quarter in overtime, I didn't play 1 second. And so I'm looking at the assistant coach, watching our lead go down. I have 20 and 10 after 3 quarters. I'm on pace to have a real nice game. And and he goes, "Yeah, we got the call from above. You're done for tonight." And so I was like, "What? Who picked up the phone? How'd y'all get on the phone in the middle of the game?" And he's like, I'm like, "What happened?" But they got a look from somebody in the crowd was like, "Nah, So me and this other player, the other player who was doing, he had 25 after 3 quarters. They're both like, "Yo, those two, they're done." And so we ended up losing in overtime. And this was against another team that was also tied for last. And they were trying to get, the best projection and the odds to get the number 1 pick.
What do you think of that, Ben?
That's not surprising at all. Tanking is the practice that they referred to. That's been very common for a very long time. A very similar thing happened actually with the team that I follow in the NFL, which is the Jacksonville Jaguars. A former player of theirs called DJ Chark went on a podcast and basically said the exact same thing.
Wow.
Because it was the year before the Jags got Trevor Lawrence. And so I guess he didn't say it. The guy who he was sitting with said it, because he basically explained how there was a QB carousel, which means that they're changing the QB a lot. And if you know anything about football, continuity between the offense and the quarterback is a very important thing, because each person's going to be different in terms of how they release the ball, how the ball comes out of their hands, their anticipation, their speed and velocity in which they throw the ball, their cadence when calling out the call, right? True. So having a different QB is a very big deal long term. So the fact that they were changing it all the time when they didn't have to, one of the guys proposed and they got Trevor Lawrence the next year. They're like, "Oh yeah, they were tanking." You know what I mean? So yeah.
So the idea is perform worse so that you get the best pick in the draft.
It's incentivized to do that, right? Okay. Yeah. Because if you finish last in the NFL, I think the NBA is different because the NBA has the lottery.
Right.
So that's also an argument for or against tanking, I would say, is that, you don't get a guarantee. Whereas in the NFL, if you're the worst, you get the first pick.
Wow.
Guaranteed.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So it's definitely a big deal. And yeah, that happens also a lot but you can also theoretically rig a lottery too. People think that's happened in the NHL a bunch. People don't think that a lot of players that are superstars ended up there organically from the lottery.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And some of them are kind of crazy. Even let's say Dallas most recently, right? When they traded Doncic, Luka, and the trade made no sense. But then they happened to end up with the first pick.
Mm.
They sent him to one of the largest markets in the world for a trade that didn't make sense, but then they end up with the first pick. It's like,
right. Okay.
So that's a very happy.
But it was through the lottery.
They won the lottery, yes.
Okay,
And I don't
gotcha.
think they had the best percentage chance to get it. But look up all this stuff.
Yeah, okay. Fascinating. I do remember that happening and people were just like, what? And like,
Yeah.
I don't pay attention to sports at all.
Because
so-
Luka was a legend, or like one of the best players in the NBA. So to send him off for the package that they received, like they got a really good player, but he was very injury prone. And like the trade just didn't make sense. Like you have one of the superstars of the league for like the next 10 years and you're shipping him off because they say that he drinks too much or doesn't practice hard enough, like whatever. And then, then they end up with the first overall pick.
Fascinating. So we've moved into the reactions section here. And we talked a little bit about Chamath yesterday, and there was some extra stuff that happened because Chamath basically was somebody came at him, was like, look, dude, we invested in all your stuff. What happened to all of our money? You lost all our money. And he was like, well, you probably should have just written it off as a loss. Have you taken advantage of your capital losses? And people are like, bruh, these people that you're talking about don't have capital losses, brother. They didn't have any capital gains.
Totally.
So anyway, so this guy, Douglas Boneparth, he came out and he said, why is everyone so mad at Chamath? All he did was lose billions in retail investors' money by promoting one-pager SPACs. It's not like he then told them to enjoy their capital losses or anything. Give the man a break. And Chamath actually responded to this, and he said, yes, I did. And Douglas said, I'm not saying you need to care about what anyone else thinks. It seems like you don't. But obviously, these SPACs didn't turn out great, and a lot of people really feel like you sold them pretty hard on them to the point of looks around, some public outrage. So why not show some humility?
Yeah. I don't think he got that update. But he also tweeted on Chamath's page where he's like, sorry for all the rage bait. My open claw or something like that had seen that my engagement rate had been dropping. And so now we're back to originally scheduled programming. I'm paraphrasing. I'm way off. Yeah. He posted that. I believe it was like a day or two ago, pretty recently.
Interesting.
I'll try to find it and say it correctly. He said, okay.
I'll also give him some flowers here too, because well, I don't really know how real this is, and this is actually pretty funny. So basically, this guy made a post, and like everyone saw my replies to Chamath. So I wanted to make something clear. I messed up. I'm fully aware of my losses. So this is someone who I guess invested in the SPACs and was also joining in on the whole thing. And this guy Parabolic basically made the statement of saying how like he called me, we had a conversation, everything is all good. He actually even donated to my kid's college fund, right? Because he felt bad or whatever. Just wanted to like say, hey, this is a lesson. Take this and this is for your kids. And then somebody said paid sponsorship by Chamath. So I thought that was absolutely hilarious. But Chamath also tweeted at this. He said, this guy clapped at me. I clapped back. We then spoke. So I funded his daughter's college accounts. Hope the kids become better investors than their dad. But in all seriousness, I also think he was very mature in how he internalized our conversation onwards. So I wanted to give him that side of the story as well.
Yeah. A lot of these guys don't have a lot of empathy, probably because that's a pro to get the resources that they've accumulated, right? So they just view everything of like, oh, anything you touch comes with risk. And so the risk is like fully on you, which of course there's a degree of merit there. Like adults made their own decisions. They should bear the consequences. But I also think that when you're that rich and you screwed over that many people, I think like, go ahead.
Yeah, it just all comes down to like, where are you raising money, bro? Like your private fund, you can make that claim.
Yes.
You're raising public money, brother. Like just because the SEC isn't saying that you literally screwed people, like it doesn't mean you didn't still screw people.
Yeah. Perspective's everything. But so here it is. Apologies to all those that fell for the rage bait. My Claude bot set an alarm that my follower growth was down 5% versus counterfactual. So we course corrected. We are now back on track. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And then Andrew, don't know who that guy is. It was some of your finest work. No apology needed. And then he had the tongues out emoji.
Oh, okay. So that's where okay. Yeah. So whatever. I mean, so what's your take on that? Is that a joke?
Who knows, man? I think we're so far from like understanding how these guys operate because like their existence is just so different from ours.
True.
So I think even attempting to get into that brain would be a fruitless endeavor.
Fair enough, man. I think we're done giving that man energy, but
yeah, he could be, I would talk to him. Like, I'm sure he's not like a evil human being. I'm going to empathize more with the people that I'm closer to naturally too, right?
Sure.
I'm not a billionaire like him. I'm sure all his billionaires see it just like how he does.
Right. Yeah. I just find it fascinating, man, to have like the classic, in his words, rags to riches story, and then behave like that, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Like, bro, I get it. Just, yeah. The dude said in that tweet, he was like, to be clear, Chamath is a jerk.
Yeah, I think you probably say that proudly. Even Chamath would.
Yeah, facts. So the whole saga with the McDonald's thing continues. This guy, he did a little joke of acting like he's the White Castle CEO.
Yo, what's good? It's Gerald here, CEO of White Castle, and just hopping on this little internet trend as CEOs eating their food. So figured tell you what I have for a normal lunch. I probably eat this lunch probably 5 times a week. Dinner also 5 to 6 times a week. I love White Castle. What can I say? So what we got here is we got 4 of our steamed burgers, as you can see.
He kind of just goes on. I just thought it was funny to think of the White Castle guy like just being like an actual homie. And there's been some other ones where the guys are much more like that, like and they're real CEOs, and like they actually got the belly and stuff, and like you can tell they actually eat that food. You know what I mean?
So White Castle CEO is actually a woman.
Oh wow,
named Lisa. So she probably
fascinating.
She looks pretty normal.
That's fascinating.
So maybe she would be the most human-like out of all of them.
Yeah. Let's see, what else do we have here? Oh, and then this one was crazy. This one was insane. This guy's the ExxonMobil CEO. This is a joke. Going ahead and following it on the trend as well. So hold on, here we go.
The marketing team here has decided to jump on the trend here.
That's crazy.
On the internet and to taste test things. So here at ExxonMobil, they gave me 2 different gasolines, and I'm going to see which one is the 87.
No, right, do not do that. Do not do that. This is a joke.
The 89, the extra. So here we go. It's gas.
So, obviously taking that to an extreme. No one ever drink gas, please. But I thought that was pretty funny.
Totally.
There was one other one that was actually a real CEO, and he just pointed out, he was like, I've got this burger product here. Most people call that a burger.
Yeah. The language is just very far removed, but
yeah.
to him it is a product, right? He has to think like that too.
100%. This one, just a classic politics kind of joke. This is 93-year-old Clint Eastwood. He's getting up there in age, and this guy said, I've seen enough. Get him into Congress.
That's so good.
Oh, man.
63,000 likes.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And this one was just a little bit wild. We've got in the United States some very interesting characters that are participating in the actual official government. And one of them I guess they asked for W's in the chat around all of the stuff we were talking about earlier, right? Because of the propaganda clips that the US is putting out. Like, look, we're bombing these people. It's cool. It's Modern Warfare 2. And this guy, I guess, made a statement, and it's kind of funny to hear CNN cover that.
White House Communications Director Stephen Chung responded, W's in the chat, boys, which is a gaming term when people are gaming and they do well. They put, W win in the chat.
So it's only funny to just hear CNN report on it, I think, is what I found funny.
Mm-hmm.
And Stephen Chung, he posted that clip himself and said dubs. So this is the behavior of the United States government at the moment. But I think that's kind of what I had for today, man.
Awesome.
Let's see. Yeah. I wanted to maybe see if we had any responses from the episode yesterday.
We got Django left a nice comment, but there's not a whole lot of comments on that one.
Cool, real quick. Django said this might be the best conversation I've ever had on the podcast. Thanks for having me on. We appreciate you, Django.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, man.
Yep. Loved every second of the episode. This is my therapy of the week. Shout out to Pastor Blackwood. We always appreciate you tuning in, man.
Yeah, thanks for hanging out with us, man. Hope you're doing great.
Yep.
And then that was about the advice that Keith got from his dad, which was really good too.
Yeah. Yep. Cool. So yeah, appreciate you guys for always tuning in as always. And anything else, Ben, you wanted to make sure we talk about today? Or
no, that's
chat.
Yeah, chat. Feel free. We'll give you a few minutes to. If you got anything else you want to chop it up on, definitely let us know. But yeah, just the same things we always ask for. We're at 69 reviews on Spotify now. Nice.
69.
Nice. So if you could get us, we're really pushing to try to get to 100. So we appreciate all of you guys that take the time to do that. Shouldn't take you longer than a minute or two. I think you just have to listen to a little bit of an episode. So if there's one that you've missed, definitely go and give us a 5-star review. It means a lot to us. It really helps us quite a bit.
Helps us quite a bit, and it helps us get closer to getting even better guests. So
Yes.
keep that in mind as well.
Yeah, totally. The more leverage that we have from an audience perspective, the easier it is to get replies, right? And so from people, and like we've already gotten some pretty high profile guests from like being creative about reaching out to them, but that becomes a lot easier when we just have a guaranteed audience.
Most certainly, man. So yep, and that's the most recent song on my playlist here. It's some
Wizard.
deep
Nice.
house music.
Love it. What would you say your top 3 genres are?
I'll for sure say rap is up there.
Cool.
And then probably some form of electronic music, and then a form of banda, or a form of how would I say, like corridos tumbados, which is like a form of Mexican music.
Tight. Nice.
What
man.
about you?
I do like some electronic stuff, but I do need lyrics there. Like I don't listen to exclusively electronic music, but I love when there's a nice melody. It's mixed in with some solid lyrics that I can get behind. Some country I like a little bit here and there. Hip hop, I'm a big fan of as well. Also, like the like 90s punk shit. I don't even know if that's the appropriate word, but like Blink-182, stuff like that. Yeah, I like that stuff a lot. It was in a lot of the old video games that I used to play.
Fair.
So that's really where that started.
Dude, what's so crazy is that I never listened to that kind of music until maybe the past 3 years. And now I'm like recognizing like, oh, that was low-key implanted in me as a kid. Like the old, even in Madden, right? I took a lot of that stuff.
Oh, big time. Yeah. I recently went and played Madden on PS2, and all the songs are like that.
Crazy.
Madden 08. Yeah, it was really good. But Brandon asked, how are the job interviews going? We're getting some responses. Yeah, we still have the job postings open. We do have a producer currently working with us. He's doing awesome. So I'm sure you'll get to know him more and more as time goes on. But the writers are still wide open. So the contributors.
Yes. Well, so last night I just sent a message to all of the people that have applied for the writers position so far, giving them the next steps. So if you're interested in that position, there's an opportunity now to get involved. I would actually do it as soon as possible. Apply so that I can get you the next steps. And then, yeah, so super excited about that.
Definitely. So that's linked in all the description boxes of the recent episodes. Definitely go check that out. It's also on Twitter. Go give us a follow on Twitter if you get to do so. And then I see from JMK says, can you take a moment and give thoughts to David Schwartz's response to Charles Hoskinson? I didn't even see that.
Oh, I did.
You?
I did. I don't remember exactly what he said. It's gonna be kind of hard to find at this point.
Was it a while ago?
Well, it was just during the whole thing that we were when the clip blew up.
Oh, so it's from our clip.
Yeah, well, yeah, pretty much. Or at least when he went live afterwards. So yeah.
Got it. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's gonna be really hard to find it.
Yeah, Schwartz stated that a constructive decision was needed. All right. I found an article here.
Okay. That's a good way of going about it.
So this is from MEXC. Let me share my share screen. Okay, here we go. Former Ripple CTO David Schwartz responds to Cardano founder Hoskinson's comments on XRP and ADA. Schwartz stated that a constructive decision regarding the Clarity Act was needed, arguing that even flawed regulation could be better than a completely unregulated environment. Hoskinson had previously stated that he was abandoning the Clarity Act. The bill was expected to pave the way for crypto innovation in the US and provide a clear regulatory framework for the sector. However, criticisms had been raised that the bill in its current form would not have the intended impact. Let's see what else he said. Schwartz, in a statement on social media, said that Ripple has always tried not to adopt a self-serving approach in the past. He stated that the company has been careful not to demand regulations that only benefit itself in a way that would harm the industry as a whole, but added that criticism and accountability are natural. That seems pretty fair.
Yeah, I mean, the whole, like, I guess Charles just using Brad Garlinghouse's name is what made this such a thing. Because really, I don't think there's a real, like, I don't think there's a real conflict here. I think everyone wants the bill to be good, right? At least I think that that's what they want. But I definitely take up with Charles on the idea that a bad bill is better than no bill. I don't think we understand the ramifications of that, of having a bad bill.
Yeah, it definitely creates a very potentially difficult path
that you won't be able to come back from. Like how even likely is it that we have an administration that's friendly to this stuff again? You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not going to be able to just get anything across the finish line that doesn't just lead to some crazy dystopian world.
Yeah, I would, because like, and that's what he said too, whereas if there's not the rules set in place, then you can fight within the courts and hopefully come to a good outcome that way. But if it's set in stone, then you basically got to go by the rules of the road now, even if they're horrible rules.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to have bad rules in place. I think it's worth the patience of getting it right. And I mean, they've already been working on it for so long, and this is why Charles is so upset. Like, we've been working on this for like half of a decade. Like, and you're gonna just say, well, just put out whatever's there. Like, no.
The potential consequences of getting this wrong are just so severe.
For sure.
Right? Where I think because we're so inundated with stimulus, it's almost impossible to truly gauge the long-term implications of something, right? Like when there's a new news cycle every day, it's really hard for the average person, and myself included, to determine like, this is one of the things that actually will shape the next 20, 50, 100 years. Right? Everyone just thinks this will be gone tomorrow, so it's not that relevant. I think that's present here as well.
Yeah, I mean, the example that Charles gave when he went on that live stream was the Securities Act of 1934. It's like, we're still dealing with that, brother. Like, if you get that wrong, it can last a really long time.
That's a problem with a lot of our systems, is that they're just like so ill-equipped to deal with the technological environment that exists today. Like, even if the rules weren't written with malice, they couldn't have predicted what would exist.
Right. Everyone's talking about the oil price in yen and how it is up really high in terms of yen. I'm not particularly understanding of the fascination with looking at it this way. Like, I literally don't know. I'm not saying that it's wrong to. But you know, percentage gains wise, right? What's happening differently here than what's happening in the regular oil market? I'm not sure. So I'm asking. And that one's not the right one because that was in Japanese yen and in the yuan. That's what I think we're trying to get the answer to. Oil price in yuan. Yeah, I mean, I'm not seeing it. So 13% gain. When we look at crude oil or Brent crude oil, I think you're going to see a pretty similar thing. 10%, 9.89%. So someone commented in the chat. What did you say exactly? You said Priced in yen. So plus 13%. Yeah, I mean, oil's up. Oil's up, folks. But I kept sending it because like someone sent it in my group chat as well. So I know
people care.
Everyone's talking about it. Yeah.
Got it. Cool.
Cool.
Well, does the chat have anything else, or should we wrap it up here?
JMK said you're sleeping on Hans Zimmerman. So something that I want to talk about here. I love, first off, so there's Hans Zimmerman is an incredible composer.
Oh, he's awesome, dude.
Yes.
Yeah, I listen to his stuff when I work on stuff.
Yes. There's him and then a guy named John Williams. I don't know if y'all know John Williams.
I've not
John
heard.
Williams is that guy.
Yeah.
John Williams. Jurassic Park.
Oh, okay. So he's
Jaws.
Big.
Star Wars.
Wow.
Okay. E.T., Home Alone. All them joints. Superman. All them joints, bro. He's done them. So I just want to put that on my folks' radar because if you appreciate someone like Hans Zimmerman, you would also appreciate someone like John Williams and what he's done for the game.
I'll definitely check out his playlists on Spotify and see. But music plays such a big role in creating a feeling.
Oh, yeah.
Like it really does feel like because everyone knows that like truly captive audiences really don't exist anymore. Because even if you're in a movie theater, you don't actually have a fully captive audience because they have their phone in their hand. Right? They're not supposed to watch it, but how many people check, right? So it's a very different media environment. Like look how much time, effort, and money was spent in terms of the music in like the older movies. And I'm sure obviously it is still done today, but it mostly seems like they recycle older stuff.
Well, man, I don't know. I think they still make that investment. It's done differently.
But most of the times when I'm watching like a really big production, so oftentimes they bring back old music.
Interesting.
It's definitely still a thing, but like who is the modern day equivalent of these guys?
Hans Zimmerman.
he's still owning the game.
Yeah, he's just running the game.
So there should be some new innovative composers out there, man.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about the movie industry, though, is there's so many people that we just don't know that are back there doing that stuff.
Fair. I'm sure there'll be more that will emerge as more and more films get created and people start to really, really appreciate that more and more.
Well, I guess it's all going to be AI generated at this point. Shit.
Yeah, we'll see. Definitely probably play a role in their process. The Rebel says, I'll add Eamon Tobin to that list as well.
Okay.
A Brazilian musician and composer.
Okay, put us on.
He's got a cool goatee.
Eamon Tobin. Yeah, see, I don't know. And the reason I was even thinking about all that is because Hans Zimmerman, there's a house producer, an electronic house producer, and he's taken some of Hans Zimmerman's songs and like created these beautiful house versions of the song. It's a guy named Lennick, Lynnnic. And it's just so cool because you're hearing like the Interstellar theme song, but it's just like beautiful house version of it. And it gives you that same feeling though.
Cool.
So Cornfield Chase is the version of that.
That sounds very familiar.
Yeah, because that's the name of Hans Zimmerman's song. Actually.
Okay.
Yeah,
got it.
From that scene in Interstellar.
Okay. I have heard that then.
Yep.
Sweet.
Yep. All right. That's all I got.
So, well, thanks for hanging out with us, guys. We appreciate you tremendously. Thanks for tuning into this bonus episode. We got this one out there just because like Professor Jiang is someone we talked about a lot, but we didn't do like a dedicated episode on him. So we figured while he's hot, why not do it? And then everyone else go do your own thing. Let us know what we got wrong, what we missed. Your line, Keith, hit him with it. And then
I'm lying.
No, your line. Let me know what I got wrong, what I missed.
Yeah, what I missed, what I get wrong, or how could I be looking at this differently?
There you go. Now you have that. So let us know in the comments what it is. And we appreciate all of you guys hanging out with us. I hope you have the best weekend ever. And we look forward to speaking with you guys again on Tuesday. Appreciate all you tremendously. And hopefully we get Professor Jiang on here fairly soon.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Anything else from you, Keith?
Make it the best day of your life, folks.
Awesome. Appreciate you guys. Be the light you want to see. We'll see all of y'all on Tuesday. Have a good one, guys.